What's up, everybody? It's your boy Adam, and we are now live in full effect. If you're here, you're in the Cool Kids Club. What's going on, everybody? It's another week. It's Wednesday. It's 6 o'clock. You're either here or you're lame. So let's get started on this. Today's topic is don't stress about tomorrow. Constantly worrying about tomorrow keeps you focusing on now. You get into this crisis mode, you're focused on your survival or advancement in life, whatever it is, and you're too worried about what's going on tomorrow. God says in the Bible somewhere, we'll talk about it later, don't worry about, there's enough to worry about today. You ain't got to worry about tomorrow. Welcome to another week in the life of 50-year-old ex-con. It's hard to say that. Never thought I'd see that day in my life. Trying to rebuild while everything breaks, right? I was a freelance. I was a senior user experience designer for software companies, making well over six figures, till I was fired from a remote job because I wouldn't take the COVID vaccine. Keep in mind, it was a remote job. And I was pissed. And in August of 2022, after they raided Trump's house, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I'm not a fan of rigged elections and shams and this whole, pedophile controlled satanic government. And going a long period of time without having a job because I wouldn't take a shot to keep a work from home job, I was out of my fucking mind. And I went off on social media and I said the tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of the FBI and some other fucked up things. And a few days later, the FBI came to my house, drove a tank straight through the front door, and dragged me off to federal prison for 2 years for a Twitter post. And just leave it at that. This whole channel and everything about it is basically a documentation of trying to rebuild your life when you hit rock bottom. I came out of prison, and before I could even stand on my own 2 feet, I was thrown into the streets to be homeless for months. And I wound up down here in Houston, Texas, because my best friend offered me a place to stay and help me get back on my feet. And that's where I am today. So, I'm just going to, there's your intro. If you want to know more, go watch some of the videos. Go to the playlists on the channel and start off with the homeless playlist, and that'll pretty much tell you the whole story. So with that said, I'm going to jump right into this. I didn't make a fancy slide or anything. I'm just, I'm a little burned out today. Tired, exhausted. And today's Jesus Calling from Sarah Young's book the only book I really read anymore. I read something like 250 books while I was in prison. And ever since I came home, I don't want to read books anymore. Like 250 books over a 2-year span, it's enough. I just don't feel like reading books anymore. So this is the book that I'm reading, Jesus Calling by Sarah Young. It's a devotional. You read 1 page a day. I don't even read it every day. Whatever day it is, that's the one I read. I figure I've been reading this book since 2022, so at 10 years from now, I'll probably can say I've read the whole book. Today's entry is exactly what I was saying. Do not worry about tomorrow. This is not a suggestion, but a command. I divided time into days and nights so that you would have manageable portions of life to handle. My grace is sufficient for you, but its sufficiency is only 1 day at a time. When you worry about the future, You heap day upon day of troubles into your flimsy frame. You stagger under this heavy load, which I never intended you to carry. Throw off this oppressive burden with one quick thrust of trust. Anxious thoughts meander about and crisscross in your brain, but trusting me brings you directly into my presence. As you thus affirm your faith, shackles of worry fall off instantly. Enjoy my presence continually by trusting me at all times. And so, going back to that, do not worry about tomorrow. This is not a suggestion, but a command. In fact, Matthew chapter 6, verse 34 says in the Bible, therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Depending on your translation, there's, a lot of different translations, but don't worry about tomorrow. You got enough to worry about today. Focus on that. And, I like to say so many times as a photographer and other things in my life, it's good to have a plan. It's good to walk into a situation with a plan. But sometimes things aren't going to go according to your plan. If you plan to shoot a sunset and you get to the location and it's overcast, you're not going to shoot a sunset, are you? Are you just going to pack up your camera gear and go home? Or are you going to look for something else? I see photographers at popular spots just get mad, throw their camera gear in their bag and stomp off back to their car like, I didn't get what I wanted. It's like, bitch, quit your whining and grab your camera and go take a picture of something. There's something. Some of my best photos come out because I planned to take some sort of picture, and when I get to the place, the picture I wanted wasn't there, but I didn't just go home. I was at this place in Pennsylvania. It's called Elk County for a reason, and it's because it's full of elk. I mean, all you got to do is show up, and honestly, you can't. I don't even think you can go for a drive through Elk County without seeing elk. They're everywhere, and they really congregate around this one part of this one area. And I swear, there's like 4 or 5 spots that if you just make a route and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're gonna see them. You may not see them in all 5 spots. But I went to this one spot where it would have been a beautiful sunset, and we had a little bit of time to kill. And I had already taken a lot of photos of elk, and I already got my photos for the day, but I'm out until the sun goes down, so whatever. My son and we just pulled up some chairs and we hung out, hoping that a bunch of elk would show up in this field towards the end of the day that right in front of us to graze, and we would get some nice sunset shots with the elk in the foreground and whatnot. And this one guy shows up with like 3 tripods, and he sets up all these cameras, and he's got these computer screens that he hooks up on top of the cameras, and all, like, he's got like a laptop, and he's sitting in a chair, and he's like, I swear to God, the dude spent an hour and a half setting all this crap up. And I'm like, I've got a monopod and a DSLR and Nikon with 500 millimeter zoom lens. So that's a pretty big setup. And I had a camera bag with me with some other gear, but I only pull out the camera that I want to use. I usually carry like 3 or 4 cameras with lenses attached to them, so that instead of switching lenses and taking the time to switch lenses and set up the camera for whatever lens, I just grab the camera that has the lens I want to use. It's much faster. And when you want to do a lens swap, you just grab the other camera, and that camera is already set up with the f-stops and the shutter speeds and all that stuff and the ISO settings for that lens that are going to work good, and you don't got to fiddle with the camera too much. So I just had the camera in my hand, and a monopod. And we're just chilling. And well, the elk never came. And this guy just sat in his chair and he was like, oh, and he got all mad and he gets up after a while and he just packs all his stuff away. Took like an hour and a half to pack all his shit back into his cases and drag it off to his car or whatever. He never took a single photograph. And I'm like, you just spent 3 hours setting up a camera and tearing it all. Well, setting up like 3 cameras, tearing it all down, tripods and everything else, all pissed off that you didn't see the elk. Well, there were elk in way off in the distance. And there were different situations. It was the fall, so there were fall colors. I got like 6 or 7 bangers. Really good photographs just by working with what I was given in that situation. They weren't the photos that I wanted to take, but they were the photos that were in front of me. That's how that's sometimes you got to just go with the flow. And that's kind of what God's talking about here, Don't worry about tomorrow. Just go with the flow. Worry about today. Have a plan, but you might need to just say, fuck it, throw the plan in the trash because life's not going to participate today with that plan. And you're just going to have to, do something else. And, but sometimes you just get steered into something phenomenal because you're at the right place at the right time. Even though you tossed your plan in the trash, you ended up being at the right place that you had to be, and something better happens as a result. So just, don't, just lessons for life, because it applies to more than just showing up for a photo shoot. But I'm totally guilty of worrying about tomorrow. I mean, lately, I would say that worrying about tomorrow or the future or whatever is one of the biggest drains on my energy these days. In the last 2 days of my life, I've been crashed out, done. And it's not a physical drain. Like, I haven't done any physical activity. I haven't done anything in weeks physical enough to wear me out at the level I'm at right now. Yeah, I work at the bakery 8 hours on a Monday, and I am a little bit worn out from that on Tuesday. But I was working a lot more hours at that bakery multiple days a week and riding a bicycle 50 miles every time I did it. And I didn't feel as tired as I feel this week. I'm telling you. Sometimes these mental drains manifest themselves as a complete soul sucking and energy drain that you'll feel in your body. Exhaustion, body aches, pain, just physical pain manifesting from the worry and the stress in your mind. I have gotten better. I have definitely, a part of my journey right now is getting better at throwing off that oppressive burden with a quick burst of trust to God whenever it gets ridiculous. And sometimes I'm able to do it the second it rears its head. But that's part of what God's trying to teach me to do these days, is to just, when it comes, accept it for what it is, but take a deep breath and just say, look, I trust that, God, I trust that you didn't just throw me down here in Texas to throw me in the dirt and stomp on my face. I don't know why I'm here. I really don't. I would have never chose to be here. This was not my choice. This is not where I wanted to be. There's things I like about being here, but this is not what I had in mind. I'm just, I'm surviving. And, things are all right. I'm not, I can find something to complain about wherever I am, whether it's Texas, New York, Pittsburgh, whatever the case may be. I mean, everything sucks, especially these days. They made different places suck for different reasons, but they all suck. And but once again, Matthew chapter 6, verse 34. This is one of the Bible verses that I was forced to memorize when I was rotting away in federal prison. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. That's not the version I memorized the New King James version, which is a little bit different, and I don't even have some of these memorized anymore. But that was one of the ones that I thought about every single day. It's part of the problem of my life and what led down the rabbit hole of getting the FBI to come to my house over a fucking Twitter post. Is just, you know, that Bible verse pretty much hits home in so many ways. You know, and even when I was in prison, they had me set up that the whole time I was locked up, I never knew what day I would come home. Not one time the entire 600, I was there exactly 600 days. And there was not one of those 600 days that I knew what day I was coming home. In fact, on April 1st, 2024, they told me to grab my stuff because I was going home that day. And the day before, I didn't know this. And then I get down to the office and they tell me I have to stay in prison for another day because they can't get a bus and train tickets and stuff for me to get home that day. And I'm like, have you ever heard of a worse April Fool's prank in your entire fucking life? Of being told you're going home from federal prison today, you've been released. Oh, April Fools, you're going to stay here one more day, motherfucker. So, yeah, that was the worst April Fool. Every April 1st for the rest of my fucking life, I will relive that. You cannot. How can you who had a worse April Fool's prank in their life? Who's ever been dealt a worse April Fool's prank than you're going home from prison? Wait a minute, April Fool's, bitch! Tomorrow. I could have probably fought a little bit. We've had this conversation. I've shared this story before. I'm not even going to dwell on it. It doesn't fit the topic for tonight. But my client, the guy I'm doing most of the work for now, my freelance job, he has this phrase that he likes to use, and other people, including myself, we say it all the time, but the words that we use might be a little bit different from one person to the next. But the way he phrases it, he says, what you think about, you bring about. So what it means is if you're constantly focused on a negative outcome at some point in the future, then the likelihood of that negative outcome that you're focused on is going to be much higher than if you remind yourself that it's all just bullshit and it's just some story that you're making up in your own mind. You know, I talked about this. We ended up going to a 4-hour live stream last week, and after the third hour, I saw that I had a bunch of notes about this manifestation stuff, and I said, well, I'm going to talk about this for a couple of minutes. And that turned into a whole hour of last week's live stream. So for the last hour, I talked about this heavily. Unbeknownst to me, I could have just saved it all for this week. I'll probably recap on some of the stuff I talked about last week tonight. You know, some of you were there, some of you weren't. You know, it is what it is. Maybe these would be better things to break up into like 20-minute short attention span YouTube videos and help me with my shadow ban and algorithm problems. But right now we are where we are. We're doing the live stream. We're doing it live. And, you know, I talked about manifestation last week. And, you know, I'm a Christian. But I watch and I listen to all kinds of different people from all walks of life, whether you believe in Jesus or not. I call them the Bible bangers. There's a lot of people who won't give anybody the time of day or listen to anything they have to say because they're not a preacher. They're not a certified, bona fide Christian, this or that. with the sealed stamp of Ned Flanders approval. And that's not me. I listen to a lot of shit. I listen to a lot of people talk about a lot of things on YouTube, podcasts, I read some things here and there, whatever. And so I hear a lot of different things from a lot of different people, but they all kind of tie together. And when, you got these people, you got that movie, The Secret, that was this big thing back in the day, where like all you've got to do is believe and you can have anything you want. And yeah, there's some truth to that, but it's not exactly what they tell you it is. And those, and there's a lot of these people that talk about manifestation, but they don't even say the word God. Like they'll talk about the universe or the source, or they have different words because they're afraid of offending the people that subscribe to their YouTube channel if they say God or Jesus. But they talk about the same things. And so last week, the last hour of the conversation was around when the Bible basically says, when you pray for something, believe as if you've already received it. And I got into a deep discussion about, does believing that you've already received it mean that you're putting it up on this pedestal, right? You want this beautiful girl to be your partner in life. You want a new car, whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, money. But when you're praying for it and how wonderful it would be, blah, 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 this and that, you're only thinking about the good things. But does pray as if you've already received it, does that mean something deeper? Does that mean act as if you actually have the thing and try to vision the actual reality of it? So like, we all know being in a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There's a downside to it. If you have a girlfriend, if I had a girlfriend, I'd be dragged off to do a bunch of crap I don't want to do. It doesn't mean that I don't want to be in the relationship, but I don't have to watch some dumbass reality TV show about a bunch of Mormon housewives going shopping at a fucking mall and buying a purse. You know what I mean? Like, I don't gotta watch that. I don't have to even turn that. I don't even have to hit play on that thumbnail when it pops up on the Amazon Prime or whatever. Like, I can go straight down to Dune or Game of Thrones or whatever I want to watch. I don't gotta watch a chick flick. I don't gotta watch Disney movies. I don't, and that's just what we're gonna watch on TV. I don't gotta go to some family fun thing, I can do what I want, generally speaking. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't want to be in that relationship. It's just that the fantasy is not the same as the reality. Having a car. I was riding a bicycle everywhere and it was crippling me. And it was making life really difficult. And the fantasy was like, oh my God, if I could just get a car, life would be so much better. I'd be able to go grocery shopping. I'd be able to go to the store and pick things up. I'd be able to drive to and from my job. I'd be able to get a job in the city. It opens up all these doors of possibility. Yeah. All that's true. And now I've got pay for gasoline. I've got to pay for car insurance. I've got this fucking car breaks down every 6 weeks and I've got to take it to the shop and pay money out the ass and be late on my rent because it's either fix the fucking car or pay my rent. There's another $500. Oh, there's another $500 gone. Oh, there's $1,000 gone. Every time I turn around, something's broke. Something's got to be fixed. Oh, I got pulled over by a cop because my car broke down and I couldn't get it fixed, and therefore I couldn't get my inspection to pass, and then I couldn't renew my license plate registration. And, one thing leads to another, and it's not all fun and games. In fact, there's a lot of days where I'm like, life was simpler when I had to take a bicycle everywhere, and the worst thing that would happen is my bicycle might break and I'll take the other bicycle for a few days till I fix the primary bike. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, I don't got paid for gasoline, just Gatorade. You know, so it's like pray as if you've already received it. I think might actually mean think about what life would be like, the reality of when you get the thing that you're praying for, not just the fantasy of how great it would be, but what it's all the bad stuff that comes with it. That doesn't mean I don't want a car. It just means that there's a lot of crap that comes with it that sucks that I didn't have to deal with before I had it. But I still wouldn't want to just, go back to riding a bike everywhere. Ooh. And so I talked about that part of it last week for an hour. You want to hear more? Go listen to the 4th hour of last week's live stream. Get me some ad revenue, all that. But I got some more to mix in with that. We're always telling ourselves some sort of story when something happens to us that goes along with whatever happened to us, and it's extra crap that your mind makes up that's above and beyond the facts of whatever it was. And so I listened to someone on YouTube talking about this concept, and it was just the way she presented it was very well laid out, and it just triggered me to recognize some examples throughout the week since I listened to this video of how I do this. And it happens instantly. This is the kind of thing that happens, like your brain is pre-programmed for whatever reason, for whatever from whatever experiences you've had in life, whatever you've been through, interaction, disappointment, success, whatever the case may be. Your brain has this pre-programming in place that will react to certain situations and certain things that happen instantaneously. As if a doctor banged on your knee with one of those triangle rubber hammers and you kicked your leg out. You didn't think about kicking your leg out. Your body just automatically did it. It's a reflex action, right? And so the first example, those of you who were here last week, you knew that I was puppy sitting for my friend. I had a really cool 4-month-old puppy hanging out at my house for a few days. And, it was fun. Some of it wasn't, but for the most part, it was good. I had him for 4 days and 5 nights. I was definitely relieved to be done with the responsibility of all that and have my freedom completely back and a peaceful house once again. And he was a peaceful dog. He was a very chill dog. I'm glad I got to help my friends out because they needed somebody to watch him. And he's a wonderful little dog. I had a good time. But Monday, when I went to the bakery to do my 1 shift per week, I dropped him off at my friend's house. And I don't know. I'm very sensitive to the disruptions in my routine these days. Maybe even more sensitive than the dog was to the disruption in his routine. Because, like I said, he's 4 months old. I'm honestly probably the first person he spent any time with away from his family. And so I know the dog was off his game, but he adjusted pretty well. But I'm very sensitive when something is out of whack. Like I've never been somebody who likes to be on a routine and have a routine and regular things and like just to follow a schedule and blah blah blah. And chaos ruled my life. Now it's like I cling to having some sort of routine and like no chaos. So I dropped off the dog Monday morning on my way to the bakery job, and everything went smooth. And I get a text from my friend sometime later in the morning, probably after they got back from their trip, And he just asked me in a text message, "Hey, did you feed the dog this morning before you brought him over?" And instantly, that fast, as soon as I see that text, I just thought that my friend was accusing me of not feeding the dog and that I did something wrong and there's a problem and they noticed something off with the dog when they got home, and maybe they saw too much food left in the bag and I didn't feed them enough or whatever, all these random thoughts. And it came up instantly. All that whole story just popped right into my head without any time. Like it was a reaction, like a reflex. And I didn't even finish reading the text from my friend. And I had to sit there and tell myself, Adam, just shut the fuck up. Like you're just making this up in your head. Like this is one of those bullshit stories that are above and beyond the facts. I honestly don't even know why that came up in my mind just from being asked, "Did you feed the dog this morning?" And the fact. So the only fact was my friend is sending me a text asking me if I fed the dog before I brought him over this morning. And the rest is all bullshit. Just whatever my mind is coming up with as some meaning behind this. So I replied to him. I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, he ate a bowl of food and he had some water before we left the house. And he went to the bathroom and, I let him outside to go to the bathroom and stuff before I left your house because I had to put him in the crate so that he wouldn't trash their house before they came home. And, all good." And so my friend didn't even reply to me for like 2 hours. So there you go. My mind is already making up more stories about, because 2 hours goes by and I don't get a reply. And I have to keep cutting off these stories in my head as they're popping up because they're all bullshit. There's no factual basis in this. It's just what my mind does. But I know this. So I'm like just cutting them off every time things like that pop up. And another fact is this messaging app that my friend and I use to chat with each other is actually bad at delivering messages and showing notifications. And so there's times he sends me a message, I don't get it for like 8 hours. 10 hours later, he'll tell me, "Hey, we're at this bar in your neighborhood watching the soccer game. You want to come out and hang out?" 8 hours later, I see the message. "Oh shit, sorry man, didn't get," so neither one of us, that's a fact. So because he didn't respond to my message really fast, like I don't expect him to when he's using that app. If it was something important, he would send me a direct text message instead of this weird ass privacy app. But he likes testing out different apps and privacy focused apps like Signal and stuff like that. And now we're using this different one and it sucks. And we both agree that it sucks. But like I said, if he had to get a hold of me, he would send me an SMS text message directly. He knows that I'm much more likely to, either one of us, if I had to reach him, I'd call. He'll answer if he's available. So that's another fact, that we use a crappy messaging app. So 2 hours goes by and I still haven't heard from him after he asked me if I fed the dog. And then I get a reply and he's like, oh, cool, man. Thanks. That's the reply. So really all he was doing was checking to see if the dog already ate that morning because they have him on a feeding schedule. And he just wanted to check with me to see if the dog needed to eat earlier than the time that he normally eats, because he usually eats when you wake up in the morning, and then they feed him another meal at the end of the day, and then it's just like snacks and dog biscuits and whatever crap during the middle of the day, but they don't feed him all day long. They have him on a schedule. So that's all he was doing. He was just checking the, and I mean, we didn't talk about this or anything, but he was just, I knew that's what he was doing. He was just making sure that the dog ate so that he wouldn't have to feed the dog in the middle of the day when they have him on this routine that they're trying to keep him on. And I knew that. That's the same. I followed the same routine he does. And so they could hold off having to feed him until his normal time because he wasn't going to be hungry. And, but my mind was already conditioned, and I don't even know why. Like, my mind was conditioned to all of a sudden think, "Oh, they're pissed at me about something," and it was just my head. But I knew, like I said, I knew this. It's just an example of these. Somehow, your mind can be wired to automatically expect the worst in certain situations, even though there's no basis in reality to expect the worst. And I mean, how many of you do the same thing? Throw it in the chat. Since we're in the chat, let's see who's here tonight. We got a lot of the OGs running with scissors: Andrew, Muskegee Land, Neil, John S, JK, AKA JS. We got more than one JS. What's up, all of you OGs in the house? Give a shout out. Let's see here. Let's give since I got some slides, why not give a shout out to the channel members? The awesome channel members. We got Angels in our midst, Blue Sky, Oddball, Keyrod 1000, Alex and Analog, and Jared Smith, the other JS. The JS that's in the chat right now is an honorary member of the channel, and we got a few of those in the backside. Who shall remain anonymous unless they don't want to. But a lot of you, some of you go to the digital chicken bucket, where if you click on the link there that's pinned, the best way to help out the channel when a brother's being held down by YouTube's shadow ban is to throw up a thumbs up. That's honestly, that'll do more than anything else, because that'll trick the algorithm into showing the channel and the videos to more people. Even though YouTube probably doesn't want to, and I'm not going to spend an hour and a half talking about YouTube and their shadow bans. But if you go to links.litgood.com, you'll end up on this page, and it's pretty much the gateway to my whole universe. You'll see that digital chicken bucket link there. And that's just, if you just want to throw bones in the digital chicken bucket, people were doing that when I was homeless, but they still do it now. So I'll just, that's the plug for today. If you go to best people here, the reason I'm talking about it is because about 2 or 3 people threw some bones in the digital chicken bucket last week. And I'm just out here saying thanks, because that helps. Whether it's $1 to go towards, one of my breakfast when I'm at the bakery, or whatever the case may be, it's all appreciated. And so I'm gonna, I have all your real names, but I'm not gonna, just blurt it out on the internet for, obvious reasons. So we'll just leave it at that. But there's people who aren't channel members who pop in the backside to say what's up every now and then, and you're all appreciated. Even the one, even when some people just show up and say hi or send me funny memes or whatever, and funny videos, and anybody who wants to keep in touch, we have a good time. So back to the topic. How many of you just something happens and you automatically just make up this whole routine, this whole story in your head about how a bunch of crap that's not real, because usually it's when something bad happens, or it's just something happens and you just expect the worst. I don't know, I've always had this built in, I don't know where it comes from, to be honest. I just have this built-in mechanism to always expect the worst. But over the years, I've learned to deal with it better as time moves on. But at 50 years old, dude, I mean, I'm never going to be able to make that go away. If I haven't by now, it's not this is like something that I'm going to live with. So, if I can't make it go away, you can't make a crack addict not want a bag of crack. You can do things to keep a crackhead from getting high on crack, but you can't take the desire for crack away from the crackhead. And it's the same thing with, always expecting the worst, and that whole glass is half empty, half full, whatever. The glass is always half empty for me, right? I'm always expecting the worst. Um, I know people who've done heroin. I know people who did heroin one time. People who you would never suspect, did heroin. I'm not going to name their names, but if you knew these people, you would never in a million years suspect that they ever tried heroin. They don't fit the mold. And you'd be shocked if you knew these people and you knew that, you'd be shocked. I was shocked. And when they told me, but why is it more than one person? I don't know, but I know. And I've never done heroin. In fact, I've honestly no pills, potions, or mystery substances, pills, potions, what's pills, powders, and potions. None of that. Nothing I can't, like weed. You know what it is. You look at it, you see it, you smell it. You know if it's good or bad. I mean, dude, you can't fake that. And for somebody to adulterate weed, you're only like, there's no profit margin. There's nothing to gain by spraying shit on the weed or mixing. You can't mix anything with it. You can't sell somebody a bag of ground up weed that's powdered. Nobody's going to want that. They want the buds. They don't want some powder that's like, oh, it was weed, but we ground. Like, what the fuck did you do to it? How could you? I don't even know. But if you got cocaine, you can mix fucking powdered sugar, talcum powder, baby powder, whatever. That you can mix a million different things with cocaine, and you're not going to be able to like see the difference. It's all white powder, and that's what they do. They take pure cocaine and they mix it with a bunch of powders and bullshit that's cheap to make more money off of the cocaine baggies that they sell. And so if you're buying Coke on the street, you're not getting pure Coke, and you don't even know what's in that fucking bag. It's white powder. It could be white powdered sugar from the back of the bakery for all I know. Like it may not even be anything. So I don't fuck with that shit. I've seen bad things happen from pills and potions and powders where you don't know what the fuck's in it. And the next thing you know, you're in a bad, bad way. Stick to the fucking weed. The day that I get off of federal probation, I may have to take a trip to New York or some other way. But I ain't gonna skip I'll be fucking 80 years old like Willie Nelson. I ain't giving that up. But no powders, pills, potions. But like I said, I know people that did heroin. And they told me that to this day, 20, 30 years after trying heroin one time, that every single day, they still think about how nice it would be to get high on heroin again. It was that good. That's how crazy addictive heroin is. They say if you do heroin 3 times, you're fucking done. You're a junkie for life at that point. You do it 3 times, 3 strikes, and you're out. You will never be able to live a normal life ever again. And like when people tell me who did it one time, how hard it was to not do it again, like I believe it. I believe it. I guess I went to art school and I saw so many crazy things with drugs and shit that I could have been, I could have been, I could have fallen right into that same trap. But I guess I was lucky enough to see bad things happen everywhere I went that I was like, no, just give me a bag of weed. I'm good. It's like, I never saw bad things happen to potheads other than eating too many fucking Twinkies and being a little retarded when it comes to math and stuff like that. But, you got to make some art. Your art's going to go fucking way up there in quality if you're high on weed. Makes you a better artist. But if you got to write code, might want to hold off on smoking that bowl till you're done writing code. You'll be looking at 2 + 2 equals, you'll be looking at that problem for about an hour before you figure out it's 4. So, just different things for different purposes, I guess. But one of these friends of mine did heroin twice. He did it twice. And he said he knew. He's like, if I do this one more time, I'm fucking done. He said he was already like planning on draining his bank account, doing whatever it takes to get high and, sell all of his possessions and, try, he was going to turn into a fucking crackhead selling a used VCR out on the street for $10 to get another fucking baggie. You know what I mean? Like living in a cardboard box under the bridge after doing it twice. And he's just like, if I don't stop this shit right now after 2 times, he's like, if I don't figure out how to stop right now, my whole life's going to be over with. And he said he stopped. And he said it was the hardest fucking thing he ever did after doing heroin twice. Said stopping and quitting was like, and 20, 30 years later, he still craves it. Like, oh my, like it's that powerful. And so he was lucky enough to recognize that. And we've all seen what happens to people who go down that road. And especially with the internet, there's no shortage of TikTok videos showing you what's up. Plenty of reasons on TikTok to not do heroin. But it was sheer willpower. He didn't go to the hospital. He didn't go to a program or any of that shit. He just stopped because he knew if he touched that thing one more fucking time, that was the end of his life. Because it was that much of a draw, that powerful. He's like, he could see himself just checking out and being a junkie for the rest of his life. And he's got his shit together. He's got a good life. Now, like I said, you would never know some of these people what's in their backstory. If you saw them today and talked to them today, you'd never fucking know. And I'm not out here to dox people or put their shit out. I'm, tell the story, but I don't have to tell you who it was. And, but he knew his entire life. There were times where our whole weekend, back in the day, weed was harder to get sometimes. Back before weed was legalized everywhere, just about, except for fucking Texas, where they, every state, I'm going to side trip on a minute here, but every state has some sort of bullshit that goes with it, right? New York State, weed's legal. You can smoke weed at a fucking restaurant. Anywhere that it's legal to smoke a cigarette, you can smoke a joint. It's legal as fuck. It's like right out, and you can buy weed in a weed store. There's other states like that. It's a different experience. But you could get a felony for carrying a fucking gun. Your Second Amendment right. You get caught carrying the wrong gun or the wrong fucking thing, 10-round magazine or whatever. You can go to prison for 10 fucking years and be charged with a felony for having a gun in New York State. Here in Texas, you can have as many fucking guns as you want. But you get a bag of weed is a felony here. They're trying to make it some states are making weed legal. Texas is trying to turn it into a fucking life sentence in prison for having a fucking joint. But you know, that's the difference between these fucking Republican police states and the Democrat police state. They're all shitty ass police states where you have no rights. Just one appeals to the blue hairs, one appeals to the hillbillies. And take your pick, I guess. But they both fucking suck. Like, I wouldn't want to live in either one. I happen to have lived in both, and they both fucking suck. Pennsylvania, out of the 3 states I've actually lived in and had a residence and an address in, is the best of the 3 because it's not too far right and not too far left. It's kind of in the middle. New York State's batshit crazy, blue hair retards, COVID masks, the whole thing. Texas is too fucking far gone to the right. They both suck. But you know, they each have their pros and cons. And so for whatever reason I went down that road. We're back. And but my friend, he knew that his entire life would revolve around heroin if he didn't force him to stop. And that's kind of like an analogy of when your mind does this shit where something happens and your mind turns it into something else. Another example, one of the reason I went to federal prison is because when 2020 came along and the whole nationwide lockdowns and wear your fucking masks, and they were setting up like, you know, they were actually saying that if you're caught driving around on the roads when you're not supposed to without a pass, without a special pass or whatever, that you're going to get arrested and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, you can fuck off with that shit. I grabbed my son and we went on a road trip. We went to like 20 different states. Went on many trips. Big road. We went everywhere. And part of it was me going around the country looking like, where the fuck am I going to go when things get really bad? I know the east of the Mississippi, I know pretty much everywhere east of the Mississippi. There isn't much, there aren't many places I haven't been east of the Mississippi, from New Hampshire all the way to Florida. I've never been to Maine. But pretty much everything in that block, I know all of it. I know some, I know where to hide. I know the lay of the land. But I went out exploring when they told us not to go out and drive. It's like, go eat a dick when they told us that. And my mind extrapolated that, and the stolen election, that 2020 sham of an election, I've seen Mexican drug cartel elections that were more transparent than the 2020 election. Like that, if you believe the 2020 election, like if you're one of these political people that believe the Republicans and the Democrats are the good guys and the other team is the bad guys, then I'm not talking to you because you're a fucking idiot. But the rest of us who know better, it's no different than like a Super Bowl, right? A team wins the Super Bowl on a bad call. The referee, the Pittsburgh Steelers are down by 3. Ben Rapistberger throws a pass and it's dropped in the end zone, but the ref calls it a catch. And the Steelers win the game. There's no time left on the clock. So the Steelers fans, the ref made a bad call. The Steelers shouldn't have won. It was an incomplete pass. The refs ruled it complete. Steelers win the game. You're not going to see a single fucking Steelers fan complain about a bad call. If they were playing against the Dallas Cowboys, Texas would be an outrage. Texas would be ready to revolt. There would be riots. The city of Dallas would be on fire. I mean, the city of Pittsburgh would be on fire. Well, probably not, because Pittsburgh doesn't riot over sports teams like some of these other cities do. Let's say it was Chicago versus let's just forget about AFC, NFC. If it was Chicago versus Dallas and Chicago won on a bad call, both cities would be on fire because they riot when the team wins, they riot when the team loses. It don't fucking matter. It's just an excuse to go out and burn some shit and riot. But the losing team would be pissed. That's basically what it was. If you were a Biden supporter, you didn't give a fuck that they cheated. You didn't give a shit that that was a stolen election. You didn't even give a fuck when they decided to appoint Kamala Harris as the nominee to be president when not one of you fucking Democrats had a say in it. None of you cast a vote for her. They just magically appointed her. They're like, oh, she's the one. You didn't get to pick between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and 20 other fucking Democrats, AOC, and all these other dipshits, and figure out which dipshit you wanted to be the nominee. No, they were just like, Kamala, she's the one. Fuck it. Fuck you. If you don't like it, fuck you. And most of you Democrats were fine with it because she's not Trump. And so, like, if they, when they stole that election in 2020, if you're a Trump supporter, you're mad. If you hate Donald Trump, you were happy. You didn't give a fuck about the legalities or any of that. I did. I was pissed. And I would have been pissed if Donald Trump stole the election. Because the whole thing's a fucking sham, and it just proves that our country's fallen apart at the seams. And look at all the crap in 2020 leading up to that. And then after that creepy old child molesting, hair sniffing dickhead became president with his, or whoever the fuck was president, because it wasn't Joe Biden. Nobody really knows who the fucking president was those 4 years. But now I lost my job because I had a remote job. They told me I had to take a vaccine, and if I don't take it, I lose my job, and this and that. So my mind went down that rabbit hole of negative thought. And I was prepared for what the history books say when this shit starts to happen, that the government starts sending the fucking brown shirts and the goon squad and the SS and whatever you want to call it, door to door. They start kicking down doors. They start dragging people off to camps, taking all your guns, rounding up anybody who speaks out, either they come home in a fucking cigar box or go off to a prison camp or whatever. And this is what I was visualizing happening and preparing for months. And so I kind of materialized that into my own reality by focusing on it so hard. I actually brought these motherfuckers to my house and had them kick in my door and drag me off to a concentration camp, just as my mind imagined it would happen. And so that's how addictive these negative thought patterns can be in your life, that you can materialize some really good things in your life by focusing on the positive. And I've done this many, many times. But you can also, it works the opposite direction too. The more you focus on the negative, the more drastic and the worse. Like, you can pull in some really bad shit into your life just by believing it's going to happen. And I've got examples, tons of examples of both, crazy examples of both. People tell me all the time, they're like, Adam, you have the absolute worst luck out of anybody I've ever known in my life. And then they say, but Adam, you have the absolute best luck out of anybody I've ever known in my life. How the hell can it be one person who has the worst and the best luck I've ever seen and wrapped up in one human being? Like, it don't make any sense. But people tell me this all the time, and they hear my stories and they see it. The people that know me close enough to actually see it, and not just me telling the story, but they're sitting next to me when it happens, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, it blows people away. I'm used to it. I don't like it, but I'm used to it. I've never had a boring moment in my life, I guess, but I would prefer not to deal with the negative. But those patterns in your mind, the reason I brought up the heroin addiction is because the addiction of your mind, when you tend to focus on, I don't really, like I said, I've been trained for whatever reason to always expect the worst. So when situations pop up, my mind always jumps to the conclusion of what's the worst, like what, expecting that the worst is going to happen. Never expecting that I see a dark cloud on the horizon, I expect a storm. How often does that actually materialize, though? Here in Texas, I can see a dark cloud on the horizon 20 times in a row and I don't see a storm or a raindrop. It's just that we have weird weather patterns here. But the last 2 days here, it's been pouring rain, but it's a weird place. It's not a predictable place to live in terms of rain. Um, but I have another example. It's a small example, but it's just another example of that kind of your brain. It's just as addictive. It's hard to stop. It's just as hard to stop expecting the worst when that's what your brain is wired to do. It's just as hard to stop doing that as it is to stop smoking crack or stop shooting up heroin. Like it's almost impossible. So you just have to find different ways to deal with that. And so another example, it's a small example, but it's something that I've noticed that I do lately ever since I watched this video last week that started triggered my mind to recognize when I do these things and actually make a note about it. Since the last time probation came to visit me, which always begins with a text message from the probation officer saying he or she's coming over or expecting me to be somewhere at a certain time or whatever. I've noticed that over the last 2-3 months, every single time the text message icon lights up on my phone, every single time, I automatically freak out and expect that I've got a major problem to deal with and chaos and bullshit going on all of a sudden, just because this little white word balloon icon shows up at the top of my phone. Every single time that I see that text message icon, I get a knot in my stomach and my heart goes boom, 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 like it's expecting something bad. Now, what are the facts? What's the reality of this? So I'm just going to talk about some of the reality here before I jump back to this. But here are the facts, just so you get how ridiculous this is. It's been 800. I have an app that I can type in 2 dates and it'll tell me these. I don't keep like a daily log of this shit, but I know what the dates are so I can look them up. It's been 835 days since I got out of prison. I've got 261 days of probation left to deal with. That's less than 9 months. It's like 8.5 months. It's been 63 days since I saw my probation officer the last time. And it's been 22 days since I had a text message exchange with my probation officer. And that was me initiating the exchange. So if it wasn't for the fact that I got pulled over by a cop for an expired license plate and I had to tell the probation officer. If it wasn't for that, it would be 63 days since I had any kind of contact at all. This new probation officer seems to pop up about once every 3 months is the pattern right now. So 90 days. Every 90 days, I can expect to get some sort of something to do from them. The previous probation officer came and saw me in June last year. Okay, so in 2025, here's how many times I had to deal with probation officers. February, when I moved into the tool bot, I lived in that stupid little tool shed with that scam artist landlord. I had to deal with probation coming over to see me one morning before I went to my job. That was about 10 minutes. When I moved into this place where I'm sitting right now, that was June. He had to come back. He stopped in. He said, "Hey, what's up?" He needed to see the place. That's it. He walked to the back. He walked to the front. He's like, "All right, we're good. I'll see you later." Then I never saw the guy again or heard a word from him until a week before Christmas. So 6 months went by with no contact. So in a whole year, I dealt with them 3 times. And then I get a new probation officer who was supposed to be like bothering me less than the old one did, but probably because she's doesn't know me or whatever, they've got probably have some sort of routine that they do. I don't know, paperwork, whatever. So I've seen her a few times this year. February, May. I had to, but twice in February, once in May, and I haven't seen her. So that's what I mean. Like it's very rare that I'm having to see these people or talk to them, but something has conditioned my brain now. All I have to do is see the white balloon at the top of my phone and go, "Fuck, what the hell is this?" Like what? I could get 1,000 text messages and one of them would be a pain in my ass. But every time I see that little white balloon, I expect, "Oh my God, what the fuck is this? My whole week's gonna be fucked up and blah, blah, blah. It's gonna be this whole fucking thing." And 99% of the time, it's a friend sent me a text, a client sent me a text. I get reminders from different bills, like the cell phone and some credit card companies. They'll send me a text message as a reminder to pay the bill. And I don't shut them off because I actually I like being reminded to don't forget to pay, especially a credit card, where if you're late on your bill, you get a $50 late fee. I don't need that shit. So, I don't shut the reminders off. So I get a little word balloon, shows up on my phone, and I immediately just jump to the conclusion that this is bad news. It's bad news. It's like once every 6 months, it's bad news. And then the bad news isn't even that bad. It's somebody coming into my house, talking to me for 5 minutes, maybe giving me a little vial saying, "Go to the bathroom and pee in this and come back. We're not going to stare at your dick the whole time you're trying to take a piss and yell at you. We just need to check, see if you're doing drugs, and we're out of your hair, and we'll see you in another 3 months." So if I've got 9 months left, I could assume that I'm going to be, based on the pattern that I've seen, I might get bothered in August, November, March. I might get bothered. I got 9 months left, 8.5 months left. I might get bothered 3 more times. Every time that fucking text message balloon lights up on my phone, I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" Immediately. It's a reflex. It's not, I don't have time to make a conscious decision. It's just immediately I see that text and I'm like, "What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? There's some sort of problem. What the fuck is this?" It's in 99.9% of the time, it's not a problem. And so, my mind just automatically is hardwired to just go right there. Immediately, like a doctor banging on your knee with a hammer and the leg goes, whoop. That's what my mind does, is white little balloon on my phone, and I'm immediately, "Who the fuck is this? What the fuck do they want?" That's the first thing that it happens. As soon as I see that little white balloon, it's over. And then I have to be like, "Adam, will you shut the fuck up and just check the goddamn text? See what it is before you get pissed off." And so like I know that I do this. So knowing that you do it helps you tell yourself when you see you can catch yourself doing these things, and when it happens you can be like, look dude, you're just telling one of your bullshit stories that's not real, so why don't you just shut the fuck up. And so like I said, I've been out of prison for 835 days. I was in prison for exactly 600 days. I've been out longer than I was in. 261 days of probation left. 63 days since I saw the probation officer, 22 days since I had a conversation, and that conversation was 2 text messages of me saying what happened, and she said, "Okay, thanks." And that was the end of it. Thanks for letting me know. That's it. Haven't heard from her since. Obviously, she don't seem to care that much about my expired fucking thing on my car. I took care of it. It's done. It's over. She obviously had bigger fish to fry and bigger criminals to deal with. I've been in Texas 673 days. I've been in Texas longer than than I was locked up. I've been in this house where I'm sitting right now 383 days. I've owned a vehicle. No, that makes no sense at all. That's not right. uh, I don't know if I'm not even going to talk about those numbers because they don't look right to me, because it says I've owned a vehicle longer than that, and I'm like, no, I haven't. Definitely haven't, because I was living here when I got the car. I think I know what that is. I think it was 411 days of living on my own. Like, it's been 411 days since I moved out of my friend's house here in Houston and moved into a place that was my own place. And that was the first time since being released from prison that I had my own place with my own roof over my own head, where I wasn't walking on somebody else's turf or tiptoeing around someone else's house or living in a fucking homeless shelter or whatever. And that's only about half of the time that I've been out. So half of the time since I've been released, I spent trying to get a roof over my head, and 411 days I've been walking around with my own place. In the first 3 months of that, 4 months of that, sucked balls because I was living in that horrendous tool shed with no hot water and a scumbag slumlord. So anyway, back to these weird numbers. I was locked up exactly 600 days, and that was with the April Fool's prank that I was telling you about earlier, where they told me on April 1st I was going home, and then like an hour or two later, they're like, never mind, April Fool's, haha, bitch, you're going home tomorrow. Fuck, man, I still sometimes I wonder, could I do something to them for keeping me an extra day, even though I was released and they made me stay another day. But whatever. When I came home to Western New York, Jamestown, 6 days after my release from prison, I was locked up for 600 days. Exactly 6 days later was that total solar eclipse, which was visible from I sat outside and watched it and took photos of it. It was visible where I was living in New York. In Jamestown, we had a full solar eclipse. Cars had to turn their headlights on to drive down the street and whatnot. And I was there 6 days. So I had only been out of prison for 6 days, and there was a full solar eclipse, of which I was sitting in. I was right. I didn't have to go anywhere. I opened up the door and I went outside and I watched a full solar eclipse 6 days after I got out of prison. Um, in fact, if I was in prison, it wouldn't have even been it wouldn't have been a full eclipse from Danbury, Connecticut. But it would have been dark enough that the prison would have been on lockdown probably the whole afternoon. Um, you're not going to be able to go out into the prison yard and watch an eclipse. They're going to lock the whole prison down because it's going to be dark outside. That's just what they would do on something like they'll lock it down for fog, different kinds of weather and shit like that. Anything that makes the correction officer's job harder, they're just going to be like, fuck them, keep them in their cages. But I just thought that was another strange coincidence of my journey. In fact, if I wasn't living in Jamestown and I was back in Pittsburgh where I used to live, it wouldn't have been a full eclipse either. I just happened to be on the path of the full eclipse 6 days after being released from prison, and I never knew. I never knew what day I was getting. The whole 600 days I was locked up, all 600 of those days, I never one time knew what day I was going home. Some people have a release date that they know. I was like, anytime between now and August, I get to go home. And it kept changing all the time. And I never knew when I was going home. It was a fucking weird situation, too. Like, people would ask me how much more time you got left. I'm like, I don't know. Might be next week. Might be 6 months. Don't know. And then one day it was time to go home. But then, the Bible, 40 days and 40 nights, Noah, it rained 40 days, 40 nights, there's so many of these 40 days, 40 nights things in the Bible. Well, 40 days after the solar eclipse, which was 6 days after my prison bid that lasted 600 days, 40 days after the eclipse to the day, I was homeless. Homeless on day 40 after the eclipse. I was homeless. And then another weird thing is I was no longer homeless on September 11th, 2024. September 11th is always a weird, there are so many weird September 11ths in my life, aside from the Twin Towers being blown up with explosives and Building 7 falling down that didn't even get hit by a plane and, all that shit that they lied about to us. September 11th, 2024 was my first day living in Texas. That was my first day of not being homeless anymore. September 11th, 2009 was another weird one. My son was born 2 days before that. I was fired from a job on September 11th for going to the hospital for the birth of my son instead of going to work that day. And then this fucking company, and it was the person who did that to me is the sister of the current CEO of Amazon. And when I started working for her, there were 4 other people at the company, including her. I was the 5th person. I was the 5th person to be a part of her company. And she's one of the biggest pieces of fucking trash I've ever met in my life. And I cannot imagine that her brother, who's the CEO of Amazon, is any better. Horrible, horrible fucking people. But anyway, I was fired by her for going to the hospital for the birth of my son, and it was on September 11th. And so there's a lot of numerology, weird shit like that in my life that I find to be a little bit strange and crazy all the time. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of those things. That's just a small handful of it. Like these weird things happen enough that sometimes I feel like I'm living. Like, I watched that movie, The Truman Show, and I've never had a good feeling about that movie, The Truman Show. Like, I feel like I'm Truman. I feel like I feel like my entire life is just a fucking weird ass sitcom that people sit around and watch and get their shits and giggles from while I'm being fucking tortured. Um, and they all get to laugh about it. Um, I just haven't found the edge of the world where I can climb up the stairs and go out the fucking door yet. Um, so I have 261 days of probation left, which is less than 9 months, like I said. But there are all kinds of stories about people who get tripped up 2-3 weeks before probation ends, and they have their entire probation sentence thrown in the trash, and they end up going right back to prison to do like 5 more years in prison, because it's as if they'll do that to people. And so I don't live in that mindset, but that's part of what my mind, I think that's part of where this thing in my mind comes from, where I see a word balloon for a text message and I'm automatically like, who the fuck is this? Fuck, fuck, fuck. You know what I mean? I'm already expecting problems just because I see a little white icon on the top of my phone. But I don't live in that mindset. And when you look at the facts and the evidence don't back up that belief at all. The evidence points the opposite way, that these probation officers just want to get my fucking paperwork off their desk, and they're doing the bare minimum that they have to do, that they're required by law to do, and to keep their job and to look good for their boss, that they check in with me once every 6 months, 3 months, or whatever, but they don't go above and beyond a couple of text messages and a 5-minute visit to my house every 3 to 6 months. That's the reality of it. That's the facts. But my mindset just has this, I can't explain it other than if you've been through it yourself, you'll understand, because you probably went through the same thing. Like, everybody who goes through this, what I'm going through right now, probably has the same shit going on in their head. Even when there's no evidence to back it up, just the fact that some badge wearing prick can show up at my house and make my life a living hell because they feel like it, put you in that mindset. And the reality is, a badge wearing prick can show up to your house and your house and your house, and you in the back, that house too. Anybody can have their life ruined by a badge wearing prick showing up at the wrong place at the wrong time. We see that on YouTube every fucking day. And so, it's no different for you than me. I saw a video, probably on X. A guy was driving a remote control toy boat, just a little RC boat, on a dock at a small lake. And Barney Fife in his fucking big fat cruiser showed up, rolled his window down, and was like, whoop, 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 threatening to fucking give the guy a ticket for playing with a remote controlled boat in a fucking lake. And the guy who was playing with the boat, rightfully, I would say, gave the cop a fucking attitude, said, don't you got some crime to go fucking deal with, or don't you got something better to do than fuck with a guy who's playing with a little toy boat in a fucking lake today? And that escalated a little bit, and the cop was about to fucking grab the guy and put him in fucking jail. And then the guy was like, go ahead, we'll see what happens in court, then finally the guy was like, all right, fine, I'll put my boat, I'll bring my trailer, I'll bring the boat out of the water. And then the cop was like, I'm gonna give you a ticket for operating a boat without a launch permit and all that. Like, what a piece of fucking shit cop. What a fucking piece of shit cop. Like, cops like that are the reason why I post did the shit that I posted on X that got me put in prison. Um, and so yeah, I'm reading your post, Muskegee Land. He says my prison was my own mind, then trapped in that nursing home, then the handicapped Hilton in Muskegee. We made it out. Time to be an interior designer again. Adam, you did it. You made it out. Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the things I do, and not everybody can do this. I know that not everybody can look back a year ago and say that their life is better today than it was a year ago. In August 13th of 2022, I couldn't look back a year ago and say my life was worse than it is today because that was my first whole day in fucking jail. I was in an empty room with no toilet or no sink and a rubber floor, wearing basically laying on a floor naked, being tortured for about 5 or 6 days until a fucking judge ordered them to stop torturing me, or the judge was going to hold them in contempt. Um, they wouldn't bring me to court for my arraignment. They were just trying to see how long they could get away with torturing me before a judge finally threatened to have some to like take action. Um, that's what the feds do. That's what they do. They torture you until they can extract a confession from you. It's no different than the Spanish Inquisition. It's just a little bit more high tech and modern. And the torture is not. They don't just put you on a fucking rack and cut you open for your guts to hang out until you sign the It's more like Chinese water torture. They torture you. They try to find out what they can get away with doing to where they're not going to get in trouble for it. It's kind of like the waterboarding thing that they came up with. Like, Dick Cheney ordered, when he was the president, decided to order, because he was the president. George W. Bush wasn't if you don't know anything, then you don't know. But George W. Bush wasn't in charge of that war. Dick Cheney was, and Dick Cheney decided to torture everybody that they captured over there. But they had to find a way that didn't sound as bad as torture. So they're like, let's just hold them upside down on a fucking board and pour water up their nose to make them think they're fucking drowning and beat the fucking shit out of them and do some other things. But, it's not that bad. So that's what they do to people in jail. That's what the FBI does. They have special places set up for pretrial where they torture you to the limit that they can legally get away with, so that the general public will be like, fuck them. They're just prisoners. Who gives a fuck? Look at this Tyler Robinson kid, and look at how people are reacting because they had some hearings this week, and you've got all these paid influencers on X calling for his death and his execution, talking about all the evidence that they have against him without seeing any of the evidence, without actually being there in the courtroom, and just, like, they're just making up a bunch of bullshit. But the general public already makes up their mind about whether you're guilty or not before you ever set foot in a courtroom. And it was no different with me. No different with me. I've been to jury duty. I've sat in jury selections. And I can tell you, I've seen enough to know that you're not getting a fair trial in America, 100%. The outcome of your trial depends on how much money you have. And that dude that may or may not have killed Charlie Kirk has a public defender, so he's cooked. He's done. That's over. But the evidence will be weak, but he'll still be found guilty. And we won't even know. In fact, if that guy is actually innocent and didn't kill Charlie Kirk, he's got less of a chance to live than if he's guilty, because they won't let it come out if there's like some bombshell evidence that proves that that kid's innocent, he's a walking dead man right now. They won't even let it go to trial at that point. They're just going to kill him like they did Jeffrey Epstein. So, or they didn't, well, they will actually kill him, not like they did Jeffrey, because Jeffrey Epstein's running for mayor of Palm Beach now, living his best life. He's out calling himself Palm Beach Pete now, and he's out there living his life right out in full view in the public, running around getting millions of views on fucking YouTube every day saying, I'm not Jeffrey Epstein, I'm running for mayor. Fuck, dude. Like, I can't wait for this country to burn to the fucking ground. I hate America with every fucking molecule of my soul, and I hate America. I hate this fucking country. Hate it. I want to watch it. I just want to see a pile of fucking ashes from sea to shining sea. I fucking hate this place. That's what this country deserves. And even though it's going to affect me negatively when it happens, I'm okay with it. It's for a good cause. So let it come. But anyway, let's go back to like this whole negative thinking. Maybe the ashes will materialize because I want it so bad. But I mean, I went to prison for 2 years for a fucking Twitter post, while child rapists don't get that much time. So I'm never going to wake up and be like, oh yeah, that was fair. I'm never gonna be like, I wipe my ass. I would take a fucking diarrhea shit on the American flag and be fine with it. Stomp on it, burn it, throw it in the fucking trash. Like, fuck this fucking country. I fucking hate this place. Fuck, you'll never see me have an American flag hanging up. Fuck that. I'm down with the Constitution and all the things that we're supposed to have and the Bill of Rights. The Bill of fucking Rights. You don't have any fucking rights. Some of you think you do, and then you find out. Some of you get to find out how many rights you don't have. But a lot of you are just living in this fantasy world because you've never actually been put in a situation where your rights mattered. Because as soon as you are, you'll find out you don't have any. And then it's too late, because once you find out, everybody you know and everybody you thought cared about you will turn their back on you and walk away, and you're on your own. I've been talking about how these fucking people, you crack me up, you fucking morons, with your come and take it sticker. Okay, if you see anybody with the yellow fucking don't tread on me flag on the back of their pickup truck, or wearing a shirt that says come and take it with a gun, or hanging a flag. I see a lot of these Texas houses with a come and take it flag with a picture of a gun on it. If you have a don't tread on me and a come and take it sign on your truck or your house or your shirt, you're the first person who's going to give it when they come to take it. Those are the first people that are going to turn their fucking shit in. Don't tread on me. They're the ones that, as soon as they're tread on, they're going to give it. They don't need it. They're here, take it. You think any of these fucking people are going to be looking down the barrel of a gun pointed at their head saying, give me your guns or die? You think any of them are going to fucking stand up? Oh, my cold, you can take it from my cold dead hands. No, they're not, because they don't want to die. They don't want to fucking die. I've looked at a chest full of red dots while I'm holding a fucking gun in my hand, being told to drop the fucking gun or you're going to die. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I don't want to die today, so that sounds like a good idea. Let's just leave that over here off to the side and see what these fine folks want. That's what you're going to fucking do, you dumb motherfuckers, with your yellow flags and your come and take it. You're just telling them where the guns are. Come and take it. Okay, here we come. We're going to take it. And you're going to be the first ones to hand them over. And all these people, you go to the gun club and you're surrounded by a bunch of hillbillies in their pickup trucks, and you're all drinking your Coors Light or your fucking Miller Light or whatever shitty ass hillbilly beer that you drink, talking about when they come to take the guns, you're going to be first of all, you're going to hand in the guns, and none of you are going to come to the aid of any of your other hillbilly friends when they're in trouble, or when the government's coming after one of you. You're all going to turn your back and say, well, it was nice knowing him. Nobody has your fucking back. Keep that, just remember that. Someday you're gonna think I've got all these friends and all these people will have my back and they'll stand up. No, it's crickets, baby. You're gonna hear nothing but fucking crickets when it comes time for all these people that you supposedly had your back will come to your aid when you're the one in trouble, or when you're the one that they're coming after, or whatever. Why? Because they're scared. They're scared of the big bad wolf, just like everybody else. The only exception to that rule will be if the government goes too far and does things to enough people, and enough people band together. And by band together, I mean physically get together in person together. Guns locked and loaded. Now there's a confrontation. Now there's something to lose, and you're not alone at that point. And we've seen standoffs like that out west. We've seen a number of encounters where come and take it people with their come and take it shirts all get together, and they band together, like hundreds of them get together, and they walk out with their guns, and the feds turn around and run home because they don't want to get shot at by a bunch of fucking hillbillies. Another example would be during 2020 in Michigan. A bunch of people carrying rifles walked into the Michigan state capitol and shut the whole fucking city down one day. Nobody got in trouble. Nobody got shot at. They backed the fuck off. Same things happened in Pennsylvania. Back during the Olympic bombing, when Eric Rudolph was hiding in the hills of North Carolina for 6 years, and the FBI couldn't find him, and the marshals and everybody else that was looking for him, and this guy was, a wilderness survival expert, and he didn't get found. He was found because he was dumpster diving behind an IGA, and a cop happened to see him jump into a fucking dumpster trying to hide. That's how they got him. But there were bands of hillbillies when the feds started combing the forest looking for this guy. There were bands of hillbillies that would show up and start shooting at the feds, and the feds would turn around and run the fuck out of those woods. So it is possible, but nobody's going to do it alone. If they come and kick down your fucking door because you got your yellow Gadsden flag hanging out front with your come and take it thing on another flag, and they come kicking in your door and say, give me your guns, you're not going to say no and die. You're just going to be like, here you go, here's my guns, please don't kill me. So I'm just saying there are exceptions to that rule, but most of these fucking fake ass hillbillies running around with their come and take it shirts, you're just putting up a fucking sign of where they're going to go when it's time to take them. They're coming to your house, and you're just going to be like, here you go. Take it. I don't want to die. So anyway, going back to what I was talking about, expecting the worst. I'm not living in that mindset about going back to prison. And like I said, the evidence doesn't point to that. They're not treating me like that. So I can't, I'm not going to lie and say that they are when they're not. If that changes, you'll know. Or I'll disappear and you'll know. You'll be able to put two and two together and figure out what went down. couple of Google searches might tell you more. The point is, I've been living in Texas now longer than I was in prison. And I guess, no, it was 500. Okay, so I've been living in this place and I've been living on my own for a while. Not quite as long as I was in prison, but closing in on that. I've been living on my own still for less time than I was locked up. And I haven't even owned a car for that long. I haven't even owned a car for a year. It hasn't even been a year since I got wheels to drive. And I don't even have a reliable enough car that I can just like travel and go do stuff, because I'm afraid that if I go on a 100-mile drive, I'll be broken down on the side of the road somewhere, having to get AAA to bring me home. But even though I get worried, and I sit here and I worry about tomorrow, going back to that. John, aka JS, says the laws were meant to tamp down the average Joe so the elites can do whatever the hell they want. Exactly. Like I was saying earlier, your outcome in a court case depends on how rich you are. That's it. There's no other factor involved. There's no facts. There's no truth. Can you afford to pay to be innocent, or are you poor and you're going to be found guilty? That's it. If you're poor, you're guilty. If you're rich, you go home. Look at O.J. Simpson. He was rich. He not guilty. He got to kill his wife and go home. O.J. Simpson robbed a casino. He wasn't as rich. He wasn't rich enough to stay out of prison that time. Wasn't poor, but he did. I mean, they gave him the mulligan for killing his wife. They're like, we'll let you get away with that one. But dude, you think you would tread lightly. You think you'd tread lightly. No, you had to go and rob a fucking casino. Now we got to put you in jail, motherfucker, or we can't rape kids anymore. We're not going to be able to get away with raping kids on the island if we're letting you rob a casino after we let you kill your wife. You should have been thankful that we let you kill your wife. But no. You had to keep on keeping on, didn't you, motherfucker? So you had to learn a lesson. I know he wrote a book saying, here's how I would have done it if I killed my wife. Wow, man. I think that I don't know where it is right now, but the Buffalo Bills are getting a new stadium, and there's this like back and forth going about whether there's going to be like these plaques about O.J. Simpson hanging up. It's like, that's how sad the Buffalo Bills are. Motherfuckers lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, so they got to put up something about O.J. Simpson's accomplishments. Like, if they won a fucking Super Bowl, they wouldn't have to put O.J. Simpson up on the fucking wall to have something to display there. You know what I mean? Like, they could just forget about that dude. But they got no claim to fame other than losing 4 Super Bowls and O.J. Simpson. So they're going to have to put him up on the fucking wall. It's so fucked up, man. It's so even though he killed his wife and robbed a casino and spent half of his life in fucking prison. I don't remember. He spent a while in prison for the casino robbery. Anyway, so every now and then I get anxious. I get wound up. I don't feel like life is moving fast enough. I'm not recovering fast enough. And I would say the last couple of months I'm definitely been deep in that mode of thought. And one of the things that I have to keep doing is like I said, I keep looking back a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Is life better today than it was a year ago? Fuck yeah. It was way better today than it was a year ago. Even though I'm stressed out and I feel like I'm stuck and I feel like all these things aren't going right, that's kind of how I feel right now over the last couple of months, and maybe going back a little farther than that. But when I look back 2 years ago, I'm like, you know what? Things are way better today than they were a year ago. Um, I gotta get some coffee. Hold on. Um, and so that's part of what helps. Like I said, not everybody can look back a year ago and say that their life is better now. I've been through periods of time, obviously, where I could look back a year ago and say life was a lot better then. But it's a check in, you know? Right now, life keeps getting better, even though it feels like it's happening really slow. When I look back, when I look back 3 months, it don't feel like nothing's happened. When I look back a year, it's like, damn, I've done a lot. So I have to keep doing that. I have to keep, because everything is going so slow that I have to look back a year to see the forward progress that was actually made. Because when I look back a month, 2 months, 3 months ago, I don't feel like I've done shit. And I'm hoping that a year from now, I can look back and say, wow, things are a lot better now. But they didn't feel like they were moving right now, you know? And another thing that keeps me down, or that helps me keep things in perspective when I'm getting down on myself for one reason or another, like I said, I have not even been in Texas getting on my feet for the same amount of time that I was locked up in prison. And should it be taking as long to get my life put back together as I was locked up and shut away and lost my life watching time go by, where my life was basically worthless while I was locked up in prison? Should I have put my life completely back together in the same amount of time I was gone, or less? When you look at the whole ordeal, I'm still in it. I mean, I'm still in the system. From the day that the FBI showed up with a tank in my driving a tank through the front door of my house, to the day that I will be free, like really free, where I don't have to answer to them anymore. I mean, we all have to answer to these dirt bags in some way, shape, or form. They're never going to let you out of their claws. But I don't have to deal with probation anymore on April 1st of next year. It'll be 1,695 days will be the total length of my entire ordeal. From the day that the FBI showed up at my house to the day that I'm supposedly 100% free from the claws of the federal government. Other than the rights that I lose being a convicted felon, like not being able to vote, not being able to have a gun, and things like that, not being able to visit the state of Florida. I found out that if you're a convicted felon, I can't go to Florida. If I want to visit Florida, if I want to go to fucking Disney World, even though I'm not on probation anymore and I'm allowed to travel freely, I can't go to Florida freely. Basically, wherever I want to go in Florida, I have to report to a sheriff's office because I'm a convicted felon, have my fingerprints taken, mug shots, fill out a bunch of forms and paperwork, and basically tell them that I'm a convicted felon in their neighborhood, and basically register like I'm a sex offender just to visit Florida. So I'm never going to fucking set foot in that fucking shithole again, ever. All the photographs I have of Florida are going to have to suffice. If I want to go to the beach, I got to go somewhere else. I'm never going to set foot in the state of Florida again. Because because I'm not going to be treated like I'm a fucking pedophile registered sex offender just because I want to go fucking. And not that I would go to Disney World, but like I want to go to the fucking beach for a day. I'd be basically committing a felony for failing to register as a convicted felon with the local sheriff's office. I'm not going to waste half a fucking day. And so like if I wanted to travel around Florida and stay in like Tampa one day and Miami another day and go to the Keys another day, etc. Every place that I go, I have to go through the whole process again at the sheriff's office and register as a convicted felon, fingerprints, photographs, filling out paperwork, doing a fucking interview, spending half of my fucking day at a sheriff's office with all this fucking bullshit because I need to register like a sex offender because I posted shit on fucking Twitter and went to prison for 2 years. So Florida's out. I'm done. I'm never going there again. I'm really not a big fan of Florida, but fuck you. I don't ever want to. There's another state like that. One of the shitty southern states that I don't give a fuck about. I don't know if it's Louisiana or Alabama or one of those fucking dumbass redneck hillbilly states that I could give a fuck about ever setting foot in. I don't need to. Like, I don't remember which one it is, but Florida is on that list. And I think it's like 5 years after probation ends. For 5 years. That's what I would have to do if I want to visit Florida. So I'm not. Period. I won't go. But because I never want to go to that shitty state again. Florida fucking sucks. It's some nice beaches, a bunch of fucking strip malls, rich assholes and gated communities, and the Keys. Like, what else is there? I would rather go to China than visit Florida again. I'd rather go hang out in North Korea for a couple of days than go to Florida for a vacation. So, but I mean, and I'm not the only one who has no rights. None of you do. I mean, you got this fucking Bill of Rights that they got in a fucking glass case in Washington, D.C., so you can all go look at the fucking rights that you do. You don't have any of those rights. Tell me how many of those fucking flock cameras are watching your fucking neighborhood, scanning your face and your license plate and everything about you, everywhere you go, watching everything you do, everything that you say and do on your cell phone being recorded in one of these massive data centers. I just bought 2 fucking hard drives finally. And they're so outrageously fucking expensive because of these government surveillance centers that are springing up all over America. The environmentalists didn't want to build, shit like this until government surveillance centers started to pop up, and all the environmentalists have shut their fucking mouth now, haven't they? So that they can build these data centers and, take all of our fucking water and make it so that a hard drive that used to cost $150 costs $700 now. And they just keep going up and up and up and up and up. So I had an opportunity finally to get a couple, and they're not what I wanted. They're about half of the capacity that I wanted to get. They're 8 terabytes each. I got 2 of them. So I can have one as a backup of the other. And the ones that I had bookmarked to buy were a lot. They weren't these big fucking behemoths. They were standard size, compact, this kind. This kind of hard drive. And I had them bookmarked on Amazon. And this will be the 3rd time that I've went to buy hard drives. And when the money came in to do it, I put them on Amazon installment plan because that was the only way I could afford it. But there's no interest, and so I got to pay for them every month until they're paid for. But the 8 terabytes, I had 2 of them picked out that were compact and that size. And Sunday, I checked again to see if they were still available. And they were the same price. And the installment plan was still available for me. And I could still buy two. And I did like a mock shopping cart to see what my payments would be and what the down payment would be. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Monday, I get a new credit card in the mail that I've been waiting for. And I'm like, other than car repairs, that's what this is for. I set it aside. Unexpected car repairs. I paid my phone bill with it. And I said the one acceptable purchase I can make with this card is a hard drive or a pair, because I need a backup. So I have to, if one hard drive fails, I can't afford to lose all the data on it. I need to have it. I always have hard drives in pairs now. So I have synchronization tools that I can just copy all. It automatically keeps all the files on one backed up to another. And so that if one drive just magically fails, and I'm not about to, but I have a cloud service that can handle a massive amount of data for not much money at all. Because one is none, two is one, and having them both if my place burned to the ground, I'd lose everything. So I still need something outside of here to store my files somewhere, so that in the worst case scenario, I still can have my files back. But that, I'm working on things one at a time. I'm trying not to, don't worry about tomorrow. You got enough to worry about today. I got plenty to worry about today. So, JS says hard drives are crazy expensive thanks to the data centers. Yeah, and that's not because of the data centers. It's because of corporate greed, and they're like, "Oh, data centers, there's our perfect excuse to jack up the prices of the hard drives." It's like, I don't know if you ever heard of John Valby and his Christmas carols that he used to write back when I was a little kid. Somebody got a cassette tape of this guy's Christmas carols, and we all lost our shit in the 5th grade. Half of us got in trouble for bringing that to school and whatever. But he did a song about the first Noel. He said, "'Twas the first Noel when a Jew bastard said, 'tis the perfect time to raise the price of the sled." And I'm like, that's what they're doing with the fucking hard drives. They're like, oh, all these data centers going up everywhere. We can just tell everybody that we have to make the hard drives more expensive because of data centers. Perfect. It's a perfect excuse to raise the price. Just like they're like Donald Trump. How many times have we won the Iran war this year? Is it 25 or 30 times? And every time we win the war in Iran, gas is supposed to go down, and it's not. The gas hasn't gone fucking down in price at all. But now we're back to war with Iran. So next week when we win the war again, gas is supposed to come down again. Like it's just a bunch of fucking bullshit. We don't even need to get the fucking oil from Iran in the first place. It's all just a bunch of fucking bullshit and scams. So, yeah, they're using data centers as an excuse to jack up the prices of hard drives, RAM, and other shit like that. I got myself enough. I'm pretty sure that at my current rate of consumption and project load and things that I'm doing and things that I want to do, and I'm going to be able to shuffle. I'm going to be able to put all these files on these drives and still have space left. And then I'm going to have some empty hard drives laying around for when they get full. And I'm going to be able to juggle my space around. I'm going to be able to juggle I'm going to have enough free space. I should be able to go at least a year at my current rate of consumption before I have to buy new hard drives to back my shit up onto. So I should be okay. I wanted 14 terabyte drives up to 20. Last November, I could have got two 14 terabyte drives for $160 each. That's $320 for two 14 terabyte drives. Now a 14 terabyte drive one is over $700. So now that went up from $320 to $1,400 for the same fucking thing. We were talking about it, everything goes up. I mean, you can't buy groceries anymore. I don't know how this country is supposed to fucking survive. Nobody can afford anything anymore. What the fuck? 4th of July was a good example. Here in Texas, I've lived here long enough. I've seen a couple of 4th of Julys. I've seen a couple of New Year's Eves. They love their fireworks here. They love the fireworks here. America's 250th anniversary. You'd think there'd be some banging fireworks. New Year's Eve. There were fireworks going until 4 in the fucking morning nonstop here at my house. Like just the residential neighborhood fireworks, not the town. We went over to the Woodlands here this 4th of July to go watch some fireworks. They had a big giant, fucking boom, 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 the grand finale for 20 fucking minutes or whatever. We watched fireworks for, we left the house at, I want to say 8:45, and we were back at the house, and that was after a grocery store run. We were back at the house by 10:30. And when I drove home, I didn't see any fireworks going off anywhere. And when I got back to my house in my neighborhood, it wasn't even 11 o'clock yet. No fireworks anywhere. No pop, 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 nothing. Last year, 4th of July, fireworks were going until 2, 3 in the morning. Nonstop. New Year's Eve. They were popping them off until 4 in the fucking morning. And it was just boom, 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 all night long. All night long. I went on a bicycle ride New Year's Eve on the bike trail. And everywhere you looked, there were fireworks going like fucking crazy. I guess maybe Erica Kirk used up all the fireworks for her live her grievances every time she'd show up to grieve live on stage, and they had a big fireworks spectacular or whatever. Maybe it's Erica Kirk's fault that we ran out of fireworks for the 4th of July, but we did. Nobody had fireworks going off on the 4th of July here in Texas on America's 250th birthday. And I'm just thinking to myself, it's because everybody's fucking broke. Bread or fireworks this week? I guess we'll eat ramen noodles or fireworks this week. What are we going to do, kids? I think we all need to eat ramen noodles instead of getting fireworks this week. What do you think? So, yeah, nobody can afford anything anymore. In my friend's neighborhood where he lives in this rich-ass cul-de-sac. And every time that there's a fireworks night, 4th of July, New Year's Eve, boom, 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 boom. Everybody's throwing off fireworks all fucking night long in this cul-de-sac. We got back from the Woodlands fireworks that night. Not a goddamn fight. Not even a kid walking around with a fucking sparkler. No firecrackers. No little bottle rockets. Zoom, zoom, pop, zoom, pop. No, the little bang, the little white bang snaps that we used to get. You throw them at somebody and they bang and they make a pop. Cap guns. Nothing. No fireworks at all. So once again, either everybody's too broke to buy fireworks now, and that's just a sign of the fucking economy collapsing, or Erica Kirk used up all the fireworks grieving for her dead husband every time she showed up to a new fucking live on stage. It's Erica Kirk. Boom, 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 and we ran out. So I don't know, one or the other, or both. Maybe she drove up the prices of fireworks by using 3/4 of the nation's supply. I don't fucking know. China couldn't even keep up. But yeah, all celebrating. People are like, how could you how could you support violence against the government? What do you think the 4th of July is? Of just a day to go out and have a fucking barbecue? That was the day that America said, "All right, get away from our country government or we'll fucking kill you." And they started a fucking war and they shot people who tried to rule over us, who were corrupt and needed to be kicked out. That the whole that's the day that we celebrate that happened. But now if you say that needs to happen, you go to prison for 2 years, especially if you say it on Twitter. It's like the most hypocritical shit. So anyway, I don't even know where. um so let's just go back to the topic at hand. We got an hour left. Don't worry about tomorrow. And I'm talking about, how your mind makes up stories for no reason, like a reflex action. There are people out there wired to just expect positivity and expect the best. I've seen these people. I don't know how you do it. Sometimes it's like, I don't know, maybe if you were rich and you were born with a silver spoon and you never had to worry about money or pretty much worry about anything your whole fucking life and everything's all sunshine and rainbows, I guess that's, you could train yourself to be like that. But the rest of us don't live in that world. I mean, I did date this rich girl once. Fucking God, that was a trip. Because they're just like their reality is like you can't understand what it's like to be them, and they can't understand what it's like to be you at all. There's two completely different universes, two completely different planets. They don't speak the same language. You cannot begin to relate. I'm telling you, this fucking girl. There's so many stories I could tell, but like when you walked into the house, they had. I swear to God, it was like they had these fucking statues inside the house that were so big that they probably had to remove the side of the mansion. They probably had to dismantle the whole side of a mansion to have a crane bring in this big giant fucking statue of a big giant head they stole from Easter Island or whatever and set in the fucking foyer or whatever, and then rebuild the side of the mansion. Because how else did you get that fucking thing in the house? I don't know. And so we were talking about money one day, and I was stressing about money. I don't know. I made six figures at the time, so it wasn't like, but I was a little bit like strapped. And I made enough mistakes in my life prior to making good money that even when I started making good money, I was like, didn't really fucking matter. I didn't get to enjoy it like people normally do when they get there. But I wasn't like dire straits either. Things were getting better. For the first time in my life, things were taking a positive turn, and things were progressively getting better. And things were getting better. Just leave it at that. That shit's gone now. I'm back to being fucking 20 years old, broke ass art student surviving on fucking ramen noodles, except worse, because I have no chance of ever getting a job again. Where when you're 20 years old, your whole life is in front of you. So we were having this talk about money, and I said, I mean, like, you cannot relate. Like, this girl would DoorDash a milkshake from a restaurant across the street because she want to walk across the fucking street and go get it herself. This fucking milkshake would cost like $30. She didn't give a fuck. She'd get on a plane. She'd be bored one day. She'd get on a plane, fly first class to New York City, take a fucking limo down to Manhattan, go get a $10,000 purse at the Chanel store, go get a frozen hot chocolate at Serendipity, take the limo back to the airport, fly first class back home, and that was her day. Just, I don't know, I was bored, just wanted to do something today. Like, can any of you watching this fucking video relate to that? Like, can you even imagine what, I'm bored today, I'm just gonna do that. She'd do that. That's how she lived her life. And so I was strapped. Fuck, this fucking girl still expected me to pay for all our fucking dates too. If you can, I mean, fuck, dude, there's so many fucking stories. So many stories. But I'm not going to name names or anything, but you know, if she were watching this, she'd know who the fuck she is. But anyway, anyway, where am I going with this? So we were having this talk about money, and I said something like, have you ever looked at your checking account and saw that you only had 16 cents in your checking account? And so you had to go to your other checking account and transfer, because your other checking account has like 80 cents in it, and your bank is going to charge you a 50-cent charge, like a service fee or something. Have you ever had to go and transfer 75 cents from the account that had less than $1 to the account that only had 16 cents, so that when the 50-cent service fee hits your account, you don't go negative and get charged an overdraft fee of $40? And she's like, no. Like, she looked at me the same way I would, you know, she had the same look on her face as I have, talking about how she was bored one day. So I'm just going to book a first class flight to New York and go shopping and get a $10,000 purse, a hot chocolate, get back in my limo, go to the airport, and fly back home first class. And that's just, you know, I was bored. It was Tuesday. What else is there to do? Like, that was just as for my whole story about, which was true, actually. I mean, it wasn't like recent, but I was like, this is the kind of shit I've lived through. You know, being that broke, being so broke that I couldn't even afford a pack of ramen noodles. I couldn't afford to go to the grocery store, and I didn't have enough literally coins, to go to the fucking grocery store and get a pack of ramen. While, you know, some of us are just, I don't know, it's Tuesday, I'm bored, I'm going to fly to New York and buy a $10,000 purse and have a hot chocolate and fly home, like Taylor Swift shit. Except she didn't have a private jet. She wasn't in that club yet. She had to fly first class like a peasant. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the fucking difference. And so people who grow up like that, to where, like, what do they worry about? What the hell does someone like that have to worry about? Ever. But this next part will seal the deal, in terms of, we never went camping. No, that was never actually, we didn't date long enough to really, like, it was a fucking weird, oh my God, the story from, I honestly think it was one of those CIA spook things where they bring, you know, like Lee Harvey Oswald, all these people have like some spook that shows up in their life to be their girlfriend or whatever, and report back to headquarters about what's going on. I think that, honestly, fuck, dude, this story is so fucking whack. But I'm just using it to make a point today about when you're, so, like, the point was, I talked about, there are some people I know who never really expect bad things to happen and they always look to the bright side of life. But I'm like, the only way I could even conceive that you would be that way instead of the way I am, where you always expect the worst, is if you grew up rich and you could just be bored on a fucking Tuesday and fly first class to New York, buy a fancy purse and a hot chocolate, take a limo back to the airport and fly home just because you're fucking bored and that's something to do. You know what I mean? Like, how could you ever have a day where you wake up worried about tomorrow? When there's millions of, like, you got $10,000 to buy a fucking purse along with, $2,000 for the flight round trip or whatever, the fucking limo ride, the hot chocolate costs like $20. I mean, you add it all up. Like, what the fuck do you got to it? You got nothing to worry about tomorrow. Maybe being worried about getting out of the country fast enough right before the lockdowns, like right before the elite. They knew. Like, oh my God, how deep do I need to get into this story tonight? They were out of the country right, like I'm talking like the day before the lockdowns hit. And I don't mean like hopped on a plane and left, but I mean like sold the mansions and like got out of their business entanglements and like had everything ready to go and then fled the country to go live in a mansion in Mexico when the lockdowns came. Like this took 6 months to a year to prepare for. Like, closing down, selling the mansions and all the shit that you would need to do to get out of the country on time. And they got out just in time. Fuck. And I mean, the details I could get into there are more than that. There was what was I going to talk about? Okay, so she worked for her dad's company. Her dad, rich dad had a company. And I'm not going to I just don't want to like name names or say too much. You wouldn't even be able to look her up if I told you her name. You wouldn't even be able to find her. But she would tell me some shit. Like, she would say that everybody at work hates me because I'm daddy's little rich girl, and they, you know what I mean? And they don't take me seriously, and they don't think that I'm good at my job, that I just work here because my dad lets me, and they don't respect me, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, trying to explain to her, and I'm not saying she was incompetent. She was a smart girl. She wasn't dumb. She probably, I don't know, but I'm sure she did a good job. Like, I know that she cared about her job and it wasn't like that. But here's something that she told me. So her dog died. She had this little fucking yappy dog that fits in a purse. And nice dog. I mean, I met it a couple times, but it's a dog. And the dog died. And so, girls are more affected by that, and girls are a lot, I mean, I would be, if my friend's dog, if the dog that I just spent puppy sitting last week were to die, I'd be sad about that. I would be sad. I don't want to, I don't want bad things to happen to that dog. But when her dog died, she went on what do you call it? Bereavement. And she flew to Daddy's mansion in Cabo San Lucas for 3 months. She spent 3 months took 3 months off from work to grieve over her dead dog. And then she said when she came back to work, everybody treated her like shit. And I'm like, well, duh. I'm like, because I would just say it like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I think we all know each other well enough that I'm not going to just like sugarcoat that. And I'm going to be like, wait a minute, you came back from work after taking 3 months of bereavement time to go to your dad's mansion in Cabo San Lucas to cry and grieve over your dead dog. And now you're back in the office and everybody's treating you badly. And they're like, you know, because, and I'm like, okay, what would your dad have done to any of those employees at that fucking company if they decided to take 3 months off because their dog died? Your dad would have fucking fired them, huh? Like, you don't understand. You don't think that you can't see why these people that you work with look at you the way that they look at you and act the way that they act towards you after you just returned from a 3-month break because your dog died and you needed to go grieve over your dog for 3 months. And you can't understand why they're all fucking laughing at you and snickering at you and talking shit behind your back. And you can't figure that out. You're that out of touch. You're that fucking, you live in that fucking separate of a world from the rest of us that you can't fucking make sense of this. And I've got to be the one to tell you this. And she got fucking mad. She got mad. She hung up the phone on me. She sent me a bunch of nasty text messages. I can't believe that you would talk to me like that. But that's part of the reason why she liked me. At least if this wasn't some CIA spook shit, like this fucking story would take 3 hours to tell it. It would be a dedicated live stream just for the story. But she had some respect for me because I never kissed her ass. I don't kiss people's ass ever. Like, if I got something to say, I just fucking say it. And people either like it or hate me. People either like me or hate me because of the fact that I just don't give a fuck and I'll say it. And I said it to her. That's exactly what I said to her. I'm like, you can't understand why your coworkers talk behind your back and snicker at you, look at you the way they do, and act the way they do, and don't have any fucking respect for you after you disappeared for 3 months because your dog died to go live in your dad's mansion down in Cabo. And that doesn't ring a bell. It doesn't make any fucking sense to you at all. Like, that, there you go. There's why. That's why, right there. That is exactly why. And I'm like, look, your dad would have fired any employee who did that. They wouldn't be able to go away for 3 months, grieve over a dead dog, and come back to a fucking job. Your dad wouldn't have it. They'd be done. And then I had to tell her, I'm like, look, I worked with a guy at an ad agency in Pittsburgh. I worked at the second biggest ad agency in downtown Pittsburgh. Maybe it became the biggest ad agency. I don't know, but it was a big deal. It was a big ad agency in downtown Pittsburgh. First or second place of the, biggest ad agencies in town. One of my coworkers had a baby, and I think the baby was 2 weeks old and the baby died. And he got to take 2 weeks off from work. He got 2 weeks to go take, the funeral, and we were all sad for the guy, and he got our condolences, and we all sent him card. We did what we do, and and everything like that. But dude had to come back to work. You get 2 weeks to go grieve over your dead baby. I'm like, this is a big ad agency. They got money. But if he disappeared for a month, he might have had a job. He was well liked. I mean, he might have been able to disappear for a month and come back to a job. Maybe even a couple of months, but he wasn't going to get paid for that. He got paid to take a couple of weeks. There is bereavement pay in our benefits and stuff, and I think it was 2 weeks, and then he had to come back to work or he wasn't going to be able to pay his bills. So I took a 2-week break when my mom died. JS says I took 1 week when my mom died. Wow, she's out of touch. My mom died and I took a 2-week break. But my mom wasn't dead yet when I took the break. But I knew she was about to die, and everybody at work knew. So I was like, I'm going to see my mom before she dies one more time. And then I was gone for 2 weeks. And after my mom died, like they were like, take the time, take whatever time you need. But it was like 2 weeks and I was back at it. Okay, so your employees. So I'm trying to explain to this girl, I'm like, if you have an employee at your dad's company whose baby just died, whose son or daughter just died, your dad's going to expect them to come back to work within 2 or 3 weeks. You took 3 months off when your dog died. And now when you come back, you're like, you don't understand why they're all snickering at you and looking at you weird and talking shit behind you back when they all know why you were gone. They all know. It wasn't like a secret. Oh, she's in Cabo crying about her dead dog. And so, like, that's how out of touch. That's the difference. That's the divide that we're all dealing with in America right now. That, like, these people that you see on TV, these fucking celebrities, these government officials, all these fucking satanic baby eating, child molesting, satanic fucking cocksuckers in charge of everything. And I'm like, that was low. That was like, I kind of have split society up into 4 categories or 5. You got the poors. The poors are at the bottom. Then you got the middle class, but the middle class is separate. You got the lower middle class and the upper middle class. And then you have the lower upper class and the upper class. And the middle, that middle ground, that upper middle class and the lower upper class, they basically make the same amount of money, but the way that they act is completely different. Like, you can be upper middle class and make the same amount of money as a lower upper class person, but you act completely different. And, you know, I can talk about that some other day. But there's a definite, like, I have a list of things that a lower upper class person would or wouldn't do, and what an upper middle class person does or doesn't do, that separates you from upper middle class. You'll never go above that. Lower upper class, you have a little bit more class. She was lower upper class. She wasn't an upper class. She wasn't in that level, but she was lower upper class. So when you're lower upper class, you'll never experience anything lower than that. When you're lower upper class, you'll never have a day of your life where you're not. That's the lower upper class, is the rock bottom that you could ever hit. You could go to federal prison when you're lower upper class, and when you come home, you're still lower upper class. You'll still have a mansion to come home. You're not going to be like me when I came home from prison and end up fucking homeless with nothing. If you're lower upper class, you will always be lower upper class. If you're upper middle class, you could be dirt poor someday. You could lose it all. There's a big difference between it. So she was lower upper class. There would never be a day in her life, no matter what happens, where she's not. That's one of the differences between, you could have the same amount of money, but lower upper class, that's rock bottom. You're born into that, whatever, you're in that club, that you'll never fall below that. You can never fall. When rich people cry poor, you know, when they talk about these celebrities that went broke, how broke can you be living in a fucking mansion, driving sports cars, eating whatever the fuck you want, going to the nightclubs, doing whatever, banging hookers, all the cocaine and hookers and blow that you want. Like, rich people cry poor. They're not poor. They're like, if you're still living in a mansion and you got all this shit, you're not poor. They were talking about Michael Jackson going broke. Did you see all the fucking shit that guy had at his fucking Neverland Ranch when he went broke before he died? I mean, the fucking, he had cars. I don't even think he ever had a fucking driver's license. and he had like 200 fucking cars. He had Rolls Royces covered in dust that he bought and never drove, or he had a chauffeur drive him around in it twice. You know what I mean? Like, but they're saying, oh, Michael Jackson's going broke. No, he's not. He lives in a fucking goddamn mansion surrounded by an amusement park with a bunch of pet monkeys and tigers and a bunch of kids to fucking rape and everything else that he fucking wants. He's not broke. he could never fucking be broke. Never. Once you're at that level, you can't throw the fucking money away fast enough. More money keeps coming in. You can't physically be broke ever again when you're there. So those, in my opinion, those are the only people that can't. Like, those are the only people that I can imagine have this brain wired that to always think about the positive, instead of focusing on the negative all the time, focusing on the positive. Maybe some people that go to church. There might be some people that go to church that focus on the positive. And I mean, I do see some people like that at church. In fact, yeah, I could think of like the people I've known who are like that, who just constantly focus on the positive and nothing ever really seems to faze them. A lot of them I've met at church, and they just have that faith that things will always work out. Doesn't matter how bad things are. But that's it. Rich people and church people. Other than that, we're all kind of wired to automatically focus on the negative and expect the worst. Mayweather supposedly, yeah, where's Mayweather living? In a mansion with a bunch of fucking hookers and blow and fast cars and all the food he can eat and anything he fucking wants. So yeah, tell me when he's actually broke. Tell me when he, poor people cry him rich, boo fucking who, or rich people cry him poor, boo hoo. That's like Jeff Bezos saying he lost a cut. That'd be like Elon Musk saying he lost a couple $1 billion. He's not a trillionaire anymore. Oh no. Anyway, let's talk about something else. It was like Elon Musk blew up another rocket and lost a couple $1 billion. Oh no. All right. So what else happened today? The church people, religious people, and rich people are the only people I know who can expect positive things to happen in life. I don't. And I haven't even my life, other than the prison experience, I didn't live an extremely rough life, but I've had problems like anybody else. I just learned to always expect the worst. And I've got another small example, and these are like small examples and I think they work because it doesn't have to be big things all the time. Another random example. I have informed delivery turned on with the post office. And sometimes I wish I didn't, because every day I get an email showing me what's supposed to be in the mail today. And every now and then I'll see in my email an envelope that I don't recognize that just looks like it's full of bad news. Right? And I instantly freak out. And I start panicking about what could be in that envelope. Oh my God, what the hell is that? I don't even recognize. I start looking up the return address, trying to figure out who the fuck it is and what the fuck it is. And I just all of a sudden I've got like this whole story about whatever's in that damn envelope because I can't make out what it is. But it's one of those envelopes that look like you're getting bad news today. And then I have to be like, Adam, will you just calm the fuck down? And just like wait until the mail comes. And then I go to the mailbox and I get the envelope and it's just some bullshit junk mail saying you're qualified for some loan shark loan, or have you heard about your car's extended warranty, or just, some bullshit like that. So, like, but I do that, and I catch myself doing it. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be like my part of the reason why I'm so drained physically and exhausted yesterday and today goes back to the end of April. Let me get a little more coffee and get some comfort. So about the car breaking down, having I ever since I fixed the car a couple weeks ago, been good. Every time I turn the key, I hold my breath, and just like when I see the car start up, all the lights come on the dashboard, the check engine light, the battery, the brake, it's like that's normal. When I see when I see all the lights go away from the dashboard, I'm like, thank you, Jesus, for starting my car. Thank you, Jesus, for letting me start my car. It's the first thing I say, because I'm always like, I'm at the point with that car, every time I turn the key, I'm like, here we go. Woo! All right, it started. And that's bad. That's not a good place to be with your car. With my fucking Jeeps, even with my Jeep Liberty, which is the worst one I ever owned. I never got in the fucking vehicle and was like, let's see if it starts. I never had my Wrangler, my Cherokee, and my Liberty. They always, like, there was never a day where, well, one time the Liberty didn't start and it had a dead battery. Same thing with the Wrangler. But the Wrangler, the battery didn't need to be replaced. It was because I didn't drive it for 3 weeks and I had a power inverter plugged into a cigarette lighter port. And it was the one port that always throws power even when the vehicle's turned off, which is on purpose. So like when you're camping and shit, you can actually keep things plugged into your Jeep. Like you can charge things, you can charge your phones and stuff with the power turned off on the vehicle. But you leave a power inverter plugged in there for 3 weeks, it will drain your battery dead. FYI. So I always had to remember after that experience to unplug the power inverter whenever I parked the Jeep, unless I knew in the next, 24 hours I'm going to go for another drive. It took 3 weeks. In fact, I could hear the power inverter making noises and stuff, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together that was because the battery was about to die on the Jeep. But anyway, those vehicles always started. My Mini Cooper didn't give me that level of crap. This fucking Volkswagen has reached the point where every time I turn that key, I'm like, oh, thank God it started. Like, I don't expect it to start. There's another example of my brain is now wired to expect the worst every single time. Even though if we were to count the number of times I turn the key and the car has a problem versus the number of times the car doesn't start, or versus the number of times that the car has no problems, they're still significantly outweigh each other. But I'm at the point with that car, I don't trust it. John JS says, I believe in reverse karma. Every time something good happens, I expect to get punished. I once win $500 at bingo, and a week later I had engine problems that cost me $850. Yeah. I mean, I go through that too. That kind of a thing. So what was the one I was, we were talking about the car, and I'm always expecting the worst there. And we were talking about the post office, and I don't even know, I was saying something about something, and I went off track, and now I can't remember the example. Maybe it'll come back to me as I'm talking, but I think, we all get the point, right? We all know that this isn't something that just happens to a few of us. This happens to most of us, and we're all wired I think we're all just predisposed to this, and part of it is because the people at the top of the food chain have rigged the world so that we all live in fear and we all live in negative energy and we all are manifesting bad things all the time. And that's part of the reason how, a few hundred people at the top of the food chain in the world can rule over 9 billion of us. You know, there's 9 billion people and there's like 1,000 people in charge, raping kids, doing whatever the fuck they want, getting away with whatever they want. They can kill whoever they want. They can do whatever they want. There's no repercussions. There's no consequence at all. They can do whatever they want. They're like the Harkonnens in Dune. In David Lynch's version of Dune, they had those people with the heart plugs, and he could just come up and pull your heart plug and drink your blood anytime he wants because you're a slave and he's in charge. And that's basically a metaphor of our society today. And how do 1,000 people keep 9 billion people from turning on them and killing them all? Like 9 billion people going up against 1,000? Have you ever seen those fucking simulators? They got those the battle simulators where they'll have like, let's see what a Roman legion would do against Genghis Khan, and like you program all this. But they even had it on a TV show. History Channel had a TV show, but that simulator that they use on the TV show is a real thing. You can fucking download and do it yourself, and there's YouTube videos, and they'll have like, what would a platoon of Vietnam soldiers do against a Roman legion? They got 20,000 Roman soldiers and, 50 Vietnam War vets with machine guns and stuff, and who would win? What's the simulator going to look like? 1,000 elite satanic scumbag child-eating pedophiles versus 9 billion people. It's going to be it's going to be quick and dirt. It's going to be over quick. How did the 1,000 people keep the 9 billion from killing them? How do they live? How do they keep the 9 billion people from turning on them and killing them all? By keeping the 9 billion living in fear, always expecting the worst, manifesting bad things into their life, even though we all have the power to manifest good. Doing whatever they can do to keep us divided and fighting against each other, instead of looking at them because they're the source of all the problems. So they got everybody on X arguing about whether this fucking dude did or didn't kill Charlie Kirk, and about this stupid ass fucking pool in Washington D.C. And oh my God, dude, it's so bad. They're always showing all these Democrats and how something will happen, and they'll take screenshots of the tweets of all the Democrats: Barack Obama, Pocahontas, AOC, Chuck Schumer, and 20 other Democrats. And they all post the exact same fucking thing at the exact same time. Like they got the memo this morning. This is what we're posting today. And they all posted the exact same thing today. But I see the same thing on X with the MAGA dipshits and the paid MAGA crowd and the Israeli, the IDF paid posters for the right. Every day I log into X, I see the same 6 fucking accounts. And they all, at the same time, on the same day, they're all in lockstep with each other. Gunther Eagleman, Cat Turd, Sassafras 84, and 6 other fucking paid influencers, quote unquote, all post the exact same shit all day long. Like they're all being told what to post. They're all being paid to post this. Everybody, we're going to talk about Candace Owens today. Candace Owens, Candace Owens, Candace Owens. And they're all 6 of the paid shills that I'm talking about. There's more. I mean, I don't even want to open up my X account right now because I'm fucking tired of it for a minute. And even though there's a lot of good memes going around and a lot of good shit to make fun of, I'm just kind of, I'm tapped out right now. And that reminds me of what I was about to say that I just forgot about a few minutes ago. It leads right back into it. These people are getting paid, whether it's the right or the left. All these big influencers, they're not real. It's all fake. They're all paid to agitate you. And they all get the memo at 9 in the morning or 6 in the morning. The memo goes out. This is what you're supposed to post today. And these are the opinions you're supposed to have today. And bang, 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 bang. Right down the fucking list. They all say the exact same thing today. 25 fucking posts about the fucking pool. Donald Trump says you're all supposed to post that the pool was vandalized and the people who vandalized the swimming pool deserve 20 years in prison. Sassafras, 20 years in prison for vandalizing the pool. Gunther Eagleman, the people who vandalized the pool deserve 20 years. Laura Loomer, the people who destroyed the pool should get 20 years in prison. Bang, 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 right down the fucking list. They're all saying the same exact shit. Nobody fucking vandalized the pool. Trump hired his pool guy who did a shitty job and things started falling apart and they needed someone to blame. And now they got all the paid influencers posting about this fucking pool for days on end, and I'm tired of it. And this is where they got us living. Get all the peasants and all the poors arguing about that stupid fucking pool so that we can keep raping kids, and they won't bother arguing about that because they're too busy arguing about this stupid fucking pool. They're starting to ask for the Epstein files again. Well, let's go start the Iran war again this week. And then next week we'll say that the Iran war is over. The next time they start asking for those Epstein files, well, we're back to war with Iran again. We got to bomb them again. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to find out who the fucking Epstein clients were. Ever. All you QAnon fucking retards. Just fuck off, dude. 2 more weeks, huh? It's going to be 2 more weeks, and then we figure out, the tribunals will start in 2 weeks, and all the pedophiles are going down. Yeah, JS brings up the news channels. You've seen. I mean, I'm not gonna bring up the clips tonight, but you've all seen the clips where they show the news channels saying the exact same thing on every single fucking local news channel across the entire country. Democracy is dangerous. Democracy is dangerous. And they start showing you, what the fuck, what was it? You know what I'm talking about. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous for our democracy. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I saw. Or you know what I'm talking about. We can go to YouTube and type, this is extremely dangerous to our democracy. And that leads you right down the rabbit hole of watching all these fucking newscasters on every single fucking news channel and every single TV station in America spoon feeding you the exact same shit on every fucking channel. And that's exactly what they do to this day. Like I was saying, you go on X, any place where you see these big influencers, especially in politics, they are in lockstep the Democrats or the Republicans, they get the memo at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, whenever it gets sent out, and they're just bang, 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 bang. You can follow 10 of them, and they will all be posting the exact same shit all day long. And I keep saying on X, I'm like, how do I get to be one of these? I'll do it. I'll sell out. What is it, $10,000 a post, or what do you get paid to be a sellout shill? To just, join the fucking bullshit parade. I'm not doing it for free, but you want to pay me like $1,000 a post, I'll do it 50 times a day. But all these fucking influencers that have millions of followers, and you'll recognize them because, like, on X, for example, when you log into X, you're going to see all 10 of these fucking accounts. You can follow 10,000 people, and every time you log into that fucking platform, you're going to see the same 10 people every fucking time. And you're not going to see any of the people that you follow. You're going to see the ones that they're pushing on you to follow. So anyway, like I said, I'm tired. I'm tired of that shit. I'm tired of X. And I'm tired in general. And part of the reason why I'm exhausted is what I was talking about earlier. And it was that worrying about tomorrow. And the thing that I wanted to talk about for a minute was my car's check engine light on April 27th. And the only reason I remember the day is because it was the last Monday of the month. I just got done with an 8-hour shift at the bakery. And the thought crossed my mind, I need to take my car to get that inspection tomorrow so I can renew my registration before the end of the month. And I still had the rest of the week to get it done. Boop! Check engine light shows up as soon as I said that shit out loud. And I feel like, because there is a microphone in the car for the hands-free Bluetooth, talking on your phone shit. I almost feel like the car fucking heard me say that and decided to fuck with me. Planned obsolescence and all that kind of shit. Because I swear to fucking God, I said it out loud. I'm taking my car in for the emissions inspection tomorrow. Boop! Check engine light came on as soon as the fucking words came out of my mouth. Like, if you were in the car with me, you'd have been like, whoa, that's fucking creepy. And I just knew that this was going to be a major, this went from like a simple, I got to take time out of my Tuesday to go get a couple of things done and basically a couple of errands out of my way, to this is going to be a fucking nightmare. And that nightmare didn't end until the end of June. 2 whole fucking months of dealing with that shit and the hassle and the stress and not being able to pay my July rent on time because of it. And just fuck, dude. 2 fucking months of nonstop shit and worrying and stress and the stories that my mind's making up about, I'm going to be late on rent and now I'm going to be evicted. I'm going to be homeless again. And then probation's going to put me back in prison. And imagine the fucking rabbit hole that an imagination can go down when you're downward spiraling like that. You're taking a check engine light. And I made a whole fucking episode about how does a check engine light turn into going back to prison? You know what I mean? And the spiral of one thing leads to another, the butterfly effect, the fucking maggot effect or whatever, that this is because it wasn't a fucking butterfly, but like that downward spiral of just this bad thing happens, which is going to lead to all this bad shit happening, and then the worst, and you're going to hit rock bottom again, and you're going to have to start over. And so I was living like that for a couple of months, trying to fight against that downward spiral and trying to like not let it bother me too much. But it was constant stress, and it was 2 months. And then like last week, I'm still going through that stress, and I can't pay my rent on time, and I'm waiting for an invoice to get paid so I can pay my rent. And then my friend, I go over to his house, and he was like, hey, would you mind watching our dog sometime? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he goes, okay, we'll let you know. And then that turned into Wednesday. All of a sudden, he's like, hey, we're bringing the dog over at 5. We'll pick him up on Monday. And I'm like, well, what? Oh, fuck it. Okay, fine. And so now I've got this dog at my house pooping on the floor and peeing on the floor. And I'm trying to fucking get work done and, all this. And then the dog was cool and everything, so it wasn't a big deal. But as a 4-month-old puppy, there's, I got to take him outside. I got to take him to the fucking dog park every day. And that I'm just like, fuck, I just need a fucking day to chill. And finally I get my rent paid and some bills paid. And I'm like, every time I turn the fucking key on the car, and then I've got the dog all weekend. I can't go grocery shopping. I don't want to leave the dog in a crate while I go to the grocery store, and because I'm not mean like that. And I'm just like, and then I take the dog back and have to work at the bakery. And then I get home from the bakery Monday night. And then I'm just like, boom, I'm done. I crashed the fuck out. I went straight to bed. And it was 2 months of nonstop fucking stress that just never end. Every single day I wake up, there's some fucking crazy ass shit on my mind, and I'm fighting against it, and it's all bullshit, and it's all just stress. 2 fucking months. And finally, Monday night, I come back from the bakery this week. That was like the first night in 2 whole fucking months that I just got to like, life isn't a pile of shit for a minute. And I crashed the fuck out. And then I had to get up yesterday and have a meeting with a client. And right after the meeting, I went right back to bed and crashed the fuck out. I crashed the fuck out for the entire day. I didn't do a goddamn thing on yesterday. Didn't do a fucking thing. Not one. I made 2 fucking chicken patties in the air fryer and put them on a bun and put some shit on them. And that's what I ate. And that's all I did the whole fucking day. And I watched TV. I watched some videos and some shows, took a nap, watched some more TV, took another fucking nap, watched some more TV, and I went to bed. And then today I woke up late, did fucking same shit. Finally at like 1 p.m. Finally at 1 o'clock, I got off my ass, sat down at my computer, and decided to put up the metadata and schedule the live stream for tonight, thinking, because I have to do it. And I don't want to do it. I didn't want to do the live stream, but I know that it's one of those things that I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And then when it's time to do it, I'm fine. Like I'm fine. I'm glad I did it. And you guys are cool to hang out with and chat with, and we have a good time here. And once I start talking, I'm good. I'm fine. I didn't want to do it. It's like going to the gym. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. 3 pulls on the rowing machine. I'm like, good. I'm fine. I'm like, we're in it. I'm doing it. I'm glad I'm here. It's just that I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Same thing when I used to play soccer. I'd be like, oh, I got a fucking game today. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm standing on the field, usually playing center midfield or right wing. And I'm like, I don't want to play. I don't want to play. I don't want to play. The whistle blows. Boom, I'm on it. And I'm a fucking Tasmanian devil for 90 minutes. And then I'm glad I went. But right up until that whistle blows, I don't want to fucking be there. And so I had to do something today. I reformatted these hard drives to be Mac OS, and I basically planned out, because I have to rewire my whole workspace here. So tomorrow, probably, I have to pull all the desks and tables away from the wall and just reorganize all the cables and redo everything. So that I've needed to do it for a while, but I figured I'd wait until I had new hard drives, because I knew the day I get the hard drives that I've been waiting for months, I'm gonna need to do it anyway, so may as well do it once. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff to hook up and things to plug in. I've got a paper shredder that's been sitting here for months. I've never used it. Boom, now when I get my mail every day, Anything that's not worth keeping, straight to the paper shredder instead of sitting in a pile on my desk, like just random shit. But Monday night, all day Tuesday, and most of today, I was fucking done. Done. I had no energy at all. I was wiped. I was more physically tired and body aches and sore and just pain and physical pain than I felt when I was working at the bakery 4 or 5 days a week, riding a bicycle 50 miles each time I do it. And fuck, man, it all because, and I didn't do anything physical. I haven't done anything physical to be this worn out. And the point was, it's all mental. It's all in the head. It's all in the brain. It's all, when you spend all this time worrying about tomorrow, when you've got enough shit to worry about today, like the Bible says, right? Matthew, whatever the hell, look it up. um, when you're spending all your time worrying about tomorrow when there's enough to be worried about today, that will wear you down. That will drive you downhill fast. And my client that I deal with, the metaphysical, the positive thinking guy, what you think about, you bring about, he follows a pretty famous guy. His name's Dr. Bruce Lipton. Wrote a book. He's wrote lots of books. I think his newest book is called The Biology of Belief. And a lot of it is talking about how, like, I'm a firm believer that if you believe you're sick all the time, then you're going to be sick all the time. And if you just believe that you're healthy, you're never going to get sick. Never is, never say never, but I get sick. I've been sick twice since I moved to Houston, and both of those times were like a flu, and it lasted like 5 days each time, and then I was back to normal. That's 2 times since September 11th, 2024. I've been sick twice. Every other day since I've been healthy. I know people who think they're sick all the time, and they're sick all the fucking time because they believe that. They always believe there's something wrong with them, and so there's always something wrong with them. So like I haven't read the book, but what Bruce Lipton's basically saying is that fear will kill you if you live in fear all the time, and you're always stressed out, and you always expect the worst, and you always believe that the bad things are going to happen to you, and you live like that. You'll die from that. That will kill you. And so even though I'm pre-wired and predisposed to always expect the worst, the point I'm making is that that's never going to leave. That is how I will be for the rest of my life. I'm 50 years old. I've been like this my whole life. You think you can just turn that off? No. What you have to do is just recognize it for what it is when you're doing it. That's the point I've been making. Like, I know all these times I'm sharing with you tonight, these times that I make up some bullshit story because something bad happened, check engine light comes on, and my fucking imagination spirals into a story of, well, this happens and then that happens because of that, and because of that, then this and the other thing. And before I know it, I'm homeless and back in prison because I had a check engine light come on my car. And I just spiral this fucking bullshit story to the worst thing that could possibly happens. And it's like jumping out of an airplane expecting your parachute not to open up. You can't be a skydiver if you're expecting your parachute to not work every time you jump. Once in a while you die, but people jump out of planes every fucking day and they're fine. You know what I mean? Like, so this video that kind of triggered this whole train of thought, this thing that I've been paying attention to over the last week, talked about this thing about your self concept controls your manifestations, and your power to bring things into your life, your manifestation power, whether you believe in Jesus or whether you're just doing it out of pure belief. You have the power to do this. Whether you believe in Jesus and God or whether you don't, you still have these powers to do this stuff. A lot of people don't believe in God and manifest all kinds of horrible shit into this world just by believing in it. So this is all real. Whether you want to believe it's real or not, don't make a fucking difference. It's real. The sky is blue, whether you think it is or not. It is. The sun's going to come up tomorrow at, 7 in the morning, whether you believe it is or not. I mean, if it doesn't, if it doesn't, we're never going to see each other again. But it don't matter, these things. These are like, you have these powers, you have these abilities, whether you believe you do or not. I'm a walking example of it. I have a fucking camera sitting next to me. Last year's Tour de France. I'm not even watching the Tour de France this year. I decided I just don't want to spend the time on it. I check in every now and then to see if Tade's winning. Because, it's always the same guy. So, I have this camera. I entered a contest with 360,000 other people, and I was one of 10 people who got a free camera. Okay. and it was right at the same time I had a check fall out of the sky that allowed me to go buy a car. I'm trying to get back to that. How do I make these things just materialize out of thin air? And I kind of think I know where I don't know. I didn't make a wrong turn, but my mind took a shift a while back. And I think there's some shit going on in my head that I need to get past, and I will be able to go back to that magical, just making things happen out of the fucking poof, out of the ether, and magical things happening again. And I don't even know exactly how to fix this, but part of it is what I'm talking to you about tonight. A strong self-concept supports successful manifestations of good things into your life, while a weak self-concept leads to self-sabotage. So, always expecting the worst brings the worst. What you think about, you bring about. If you expect good things to happen, good things will happen. Most people only feel confident when things are going well, but true self-concept reveals itself during challenges, during setbacks, or when the tide shifts, right? Your significant other ignoring you, unexpected bills, your car broke down, you not being able to find a job when you're unemployed, all these negative things. You don't really, like I said, when things are going well in your life, you have confidence. It's not hard to be confident when things are going well. It's when things go south, and when you're in challenge, when you're going through some shit, that's when the real you, what you really think about yourself, pops up. Are you really as confident as you think you are? I'm not. I have no confidence in certain areas of my life that I always had confidence in, even when things weren't going well. And it goes from being in prison, being a convicted felon, having no money, having been homeless, and all these other things have just worn me down to where certain things, I just have no confidence in myself anymore. Even though it's really unjustified. But, anybody who's been through this shit, I mean, you'd be feeling it too. But these the dark times are what expose the real underlying beliefs that you have about yourself or about the world, or just like what you're preconditioned to expect in certain situations. And, you can't fake it at that point. You can't just force yourself to be positive, or, put on a fucking show like Ned Flanders and pretend everything is okay. When things get hard, when nobody's watching you, when you get to take the mask off that you might be putting on for everybody else to see when things are going hard, you have to have the ability to face the discomfort. The You have to face these things rather than trying to avoid it. And like I was saying earlier, you have to look at, like, what's the actual facts here, and what's this bullshit story that you're making up in your mind about, that you took this fact and you turned it into some bullshit story that's not even real. Right? The fact is, you're dating a girl and you send her a text and she doesn't reply for 3 hours, or she doesn't reply for the rest of the day, and you're like, what the fuck? Your mind would say, oh, she's not interested in me anymore. When the fact is, you didn't get, you texted and you didn't get a reply. Right? They feel like, and that might be your knee jerk reaction, that your mind automatically thinks that as soon as it happens. Well, as soon, you look at the time and you're like, oh my God, it's like 8 o'clock at night and she never texted me back. And you think, oh, she must be out on a date with some other guy or whatever. You might think that way. Automatically, your brain might just go to that by default without you even like having a chance to think it through. Right? But it's, other than the fact of the matter, it's all bullshit. It's all story in your fucking head. It may or may not be true. And I went to this thing called the Landmark Forum back in the day. I've talked about this, and they used to call that kind of thing limiting beliefs. It's the bullshit that you make up in your own mind, that your subconscious mind believes in so deeply that it results in you becoming your reality, because your subconscious mind will bring it into existence, because your subconscious mind doesn't want to be proven wrong. So if you have a negative opinion about yourself, or whatever the case may be, your subconscious mind will work to make that reality, because it doesn't want to be proven wrong. People don't like to be proven wrong. And so you kind of have to learn to separate. That's the problem. You have to learn to separate the fact from the bullshit story in your head. And your brain kind of has this library of beliefs, like a playlist, right? Like, I'm not good enough, or like JS said, he believes that every time something good happens to me, I expect to get punished. I win $500 at bingo, and a week later I have engine problems that cost me $850. You're pre-wired. It's like, I fucking hate when I used to hate when people would tell me this shit and get even mad. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to help what happened? You know what I mean? But now I'm smart enough to know to not always, like, I can catch myself doing it and tell myself to shut. Like, I will literally, in the middle of the day, I'll just blurt out to myself, Adam, shut the fuck up. Because I catch myself going down that path. And I'm not trying to like force it. I'm not trying to force myself to be positive. I'm just telling myself to shut the fuck up and realize that this is what's actually a fact, and this is the bullshit story you're making up to go with it. And so just recognize that it's a bullshit story. It's not real. and do what you got to do to get through the day. So like your music play, like you're on Spotify or your iTunes or whatever the fuck you got. You put your own songs that you like on your playlist, and when they come up for your listening enjoyment, you already know the song by heart. You know within one beat or one note what song it is because you've heard it a million times. It's why it's on your playlist. And your brain and you have the right playlist for every occasion. You want to go work out, boom, you got your workout playlist. You got all the fucking angry, stair-stepping, fucking pissed off death metal. Just fuck you, motherfucker, I'm getting on my fucking burger. Right? Your workout music, but you need to relax, and you've got your classical, you got your Mozart, you got your soft rock, your Kenny G, the guy, the fucking dude with the sack, Michael Bolton or whatever. You got all that shit for when you need to chill out. And Celine Dion or whatever, you got that shit. You got your playlist, everyone for every occasion. Well, your brain has a bunch of these playlists about the beliefs that you've told yourself over and over and over again your whole life, so that whatever situation comes up, your brain just goes, boom, I got the perfect playlist for that one. And it just starts running that shit through your head. That's why every time I see the fucking word balloon on my phone and I'm like, I got a text message, fuck, who's that? Who the fuck is texting me? Oh, it's just a reminder that you got to pay your credit card bill on the 18th. Oh, okay, no big deal. You know what I mean? Or it's, oh, it's my friend so-and-so, like, oh, what's up, motherfucker? Haven't seen you in a bit. And it's like, if I had 1,000 fucking text messages come in, one of them might be a bad message that I don't want. And the rest of them are either good or neutral. And that one fucking message that was bad news will set my mind to expect every time that fucking word balloon shows up to, oh God, what do I got to deal with now? Another bad, like, it's fucked up. It's weird. So but if you recognize when you're doing this shit, if you recognize when your brain is playing these tricks on you, that's how you can get it to shut the fuck up. Like, I can just say, Adam, shut the fuck up. It's just stop. Like, I catch myself doing it. Like, sometimes I'll just be on a random thought downward spiral, like one of those some really awful shit. Crazy shit. Like, like makes Dexter seem like he's a fucking, sane person, right? And I'll just be like, Adam, will you just shut the fuck up? Stop it right fucking now. And it does. I can stop it and recognize it. It's just bullshit. Stop. And so, like, once again, we were talking about this, like, you're dating a girl and she takes 3 hours to respond to a text message. Or let's say, you go the rest of the night and you're like, damn, she never responded. What the fuck? I guess she's not into me. She must be out fucking some other guy or whatever. Maybe she is. I don't know. But the fact is, here's facts. If I take several hours to respond to a text message from a girl, maybe it's because I'm not in cell phone range. I'm out on a bicycle ride. I'm out on a hike. I'm out doing some shit. I'm out enjoying my life. I don't have my phone turned on. My phone's on airplane mode or whatever the case may be. I didn't see the message yet. Maybe I'm working. Maybe I'm busy at work. Maybe I'm at the gym. Maybe I'm in a meeting. Maybe I'm at my job and I'm in a meeting and I can't be fucking pulling out my phone all day. I work at a bakery. I can check my messages at the bakery throughout the day, but I might go 3 fucking hours without looking at my phone. I might go 4 hours without looking at my phone. I'm doing something important. Does that mean I'm not into this girl anymore? No, it just means I didn't fucking have my phone. Remember growing up in the 80s, Gen X? I know there's a lot of Gen X in the house. Remember when somebody would call you and you weren't home? The phone would just ring and ring and ring and ring, and eventually you'd just be like, oh, they're not home, and hang up. And that was it. You didn't fucking like dwell on it. You didn't be like, well, what the fuck, man? I let it ring 10 times and they didn't pick it up. It must be this whole fucking. No, they're not home. They're not home. And then we got voicemail, and then we got caller ID. But it wasn't until we got the fucking text messaging and that shit where it started to take a turn. And now you're reading into every fucking thing like, oh my God, and the worst, here's something I do. Another one, I'm just thinking of it now. I fucking hate read receipts and the little fucking check marks and shit that you get and the little dot, 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 dot that shows up when you're texting back and forth with somebody now, either on a messaging app or with even regular text messages are doing it now. So you send somebody a text and there's one empty circle with a checkbox, which means they didn't get it yet. It didn't get delivered. Now there's two empty checkboxes, which means it was delivered, but they haven't seen it yet. So now you know. I'll send somebody a text and I'll see the two empty checkboxes for a day and a half, and I'll be like, what the fuck, motherfucker? You don't even check your goddamn text messages in a day and a half? What the fuck? And then I start thinking about what the fuck's going on here and what problems is this leading to and blah, 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 this and that and the other thing. And so I speculate. And then you see the check marks get filled in, which means the person saw the message, but they haven't responded to you yet. And now you're like, what the fuck? I need a fucking answer. It may not even be a girlfriend or whatever. It's like somebody you actually need an answer from to figure out, like, you need something, you need a client, something you need an answer from a client, a customer, whatever. And so there you go. And then I think I fucking hate the one I hate the most is when you're texting back and forth with somebody and then you see the dot, dot, dot bouncing, dot, 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 which means they're typing something right now. And you sit there and you wait and you wait and then it stops. And then it goes dot, 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 dot again. And then it stops. And you're like, what the fuck? Are you writing a fucking book? Just send the fucking text and you sit there staring at the fucking thing. Waiting for that fucking text message that never comes sometimes. And you're like, what the fuck is the goddamn... I want to shut that fucking shit off and just like, tell me when there's a fucking message to see. I don't need this dot, dot, dot shit bouncing in front of me, grabbing my attention because, so-and-so is about to respond. I better wait until they respond. And then it stops. And then dot, 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 dot. 5 minutes. No fucking text. Stops. Then dot, 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 dot. Again, and we've all fucking seen this shit. And the point is, these systems aren't that fucking great. Sometimes you get the dot, dot, dot and all that crap, and the person on the other end is not typing. It's just a broken system that's sending you this fucking signal that the person is typing something to you, but they're not. Or there's some sort of reason why the app is sending you this shit, but it's not actually, like, the person's not actually typing anything. So I try not to pay attention to that shit. But we all, like, I see the little circles with the, why the fuck isn't his phone turned on or her phone or whatever? Oh, so she got the fucking thing or he got the message, but he's not. What, you haven't checked your fucking text messages in 3 days, motherfucker? What the fuck, dude? Who goes 3 days without checking their fucking text messages? The circles are still blank. They're not filled in yet. What the fuck? I hate that shit, man. I hate that. I really hate that shit. But it's just another opportunity for you to make up a bunch of bullshit stories that go with each step of that process. And it's not real. Like, it could be nothing. Most of the time, whenever I make contact with whoever it is, it's just a bunch of fucking bullshit. Like, there's nothing wrong. All the fucking shit you made up in your head about whatever it is that's wrong isn't real. And so, um, like I said, if I take several hours to respond to a text, it might be because I'm fucking busy. And it has nothing to do with negative feelings about somebody, or that I don't want to talk to so and so, or I'm ignoring them or whatever. It just means I'm too fucking busy right now. Like, we all have I'm driving. I'm fucking driving. I'm not going to text and I don't text and drive. I sometimes, if I'm stalled in a traffic jam or I'm at a traffic light or something, I'll use my phone to like queue up something, or I'll queue up something to listen to or whatever. I'll fuck around with my phone a little bit, maybe send a text or whatever, but only if I'm not driving. I don't fucking drive and then pick up my phone while I'm going down the fucking road and fuck around with it. If I'm on an all-day drive, you might not hear from me, even though you got you got the little circles filled in saying that I got the message and that I saw it. But 5 hours goes by and I didn't respond because I'm driving from Pittsburgh to fucking Washington D.C. and I'm trying to make tracks, and I don't want to crash and go off the side of the fucking road. Sorry, deal with it. Like, and so it's couldn't it, so now when you're looking at the girl who didn't text you back, or in the case of a girl, you're looking at the guy that didn't text you back, you know, couldn't it be the same thing? Like, could she be busy? Could it just be that she has a fucking job, or that she's driving somewhere, or she's got some shit to do today and doesn't have time to fucking text? Some at some point in the day, if you really care about someone, you should, at least make an effort. But have that much of respect for each other to not just ghost or be a total piece of shit. But things happen. Does it automatically mean you're being ghosted? Does it automatically mean she's over at her other boyfriend's house and she's too busy with another dick in her mouth or whatever, and she ain't got time to be texting and fucking at the same time or whatever? It doesn't necessarily mean that. Like, just sometimes people are busy, but we're all expected to be at each other's beck and call because of these fucking phones that we hold in our hand all day. It wasn't like that when we were growing up as Gen X. You could fucking disappear for 6 days before people would wonder what. We could disappear from our fucking. When I was 13, I could disappear from home for like 3 days before mom and dad would be like, well, we better start looking for the kid. Let alone, boyfriends and girlfriends and all that shit not being home. And like, you know what I mean? Like, our parents gave us the key to the fucking house and said, don't burn the place down. We'll see you on Friday when we're done with work. Good luck. And that was when you were like 8. So, like, there was just a different, and there wasn't like, they couldn't keep tabs on us. There was no text messages. There was no, like, it didn't mean that we were going to be home when mom and dad called to check in. Like, we weren't expected to be sitting on the couch waiting for the phone to ring. And it wasn't an automatic assumption when somebody didn't pick up the phone that, oh my God, what's going on? Did their house burn down? Are they in jail? It was just, they're not fucking home, or they're home and they didn't hear the phone, or they didn't get to the phone on time. This technology has turned us into fucking douchebags and retards. Straight up. And it's just, but part of it has to do that if you have this self-concept, you don't have your shit together or whatever in your mind. You You make up you accept these automatic stories, the stories that your brain automatically jumps to before you even had a chance to think about it, like the doctor banging on your knee with the hammer and your leg just kicks before you didn't think about, oh, I need to kick my leg. It just happens. Your brain does that with these fucking stories. And when you have a weak self, when you have a weak opinion about yourself, you will mistake those automatic stories as the truth. And that's the difference. Like, if you have confidence, if you have self respect, or whatever you want to call it, you can recognize these as bullshit stories. They're not real. Um, and once you realize that this is not the truth, it's just bullshit, you can just start making up new stories to tell yourself. That's the key. That's the beauty of it. You can just be like, you know what? I'm going to change out the songs in this fucking playlist. So the next time I turn the key on my car, I'm going to expect that it starts. You know what I mean? Or I'm changing the fucking playlist. And, sometimes you have to stop fixating or trying to control things that you can't control, and just focus your energy on the stories that you make up around it and change those, because you can control the story. You can just make up a new bullshit story that's not negative. You can be like, well, the girl that took 3 hours and she didn't respond. You can just, well, one bullshit story is she's fucking another guy and she's ghosting you. Or you can just make up a different bullshit story that she's into you so much that she's scared to send you a text until she comes up with the right thing to say. And that's why it's taken 3 hours for her to get back to you, because she keeps typing out a message and then erasing it because she's afraid it makes her look dumb, and she feels like she has to say the right thing. And so it's taken her 3 hours to figure out what she wants to say, because she likes you so much she doesn't want to fuck it up by sending a dumb text message. That's a bullshit story too. It's a bullshit story just as much as the other one. But one of them makes you feel better. At the end, one of them you're fine. You're okay. That's the bullshit story. That's what the guy who slays all the pussy comes up with as his bullshit story when the woman doesn't want to text him back. Well, she just likes me so much that she's taken forever to figure out what she wants to say, and she keeps erasing it and types out a new text and then says that's not good enough, and just keeps trying again, and she's too scared to hit the send button because she's afraid she isn't going to be good enough for you. That's a bullshit story just as much as the other one, but one's going to leave you having more confidence in yourself than the other one. You have to tell yourself a story. When my friend asked me if I fed the dog that morning, I told you about how my friend sent me a text. He's like, did you feed the dog this morning before you dropped him off? I immediately, my brain, it was instantaneous. 1/1000th of a second after seeing the text, I was like, what the fuck's wrong with the dog? Why are they thinking that I didn't feed the dog? And I felt like I was being accused of not taking care of the dog properly. But that was just what my mind went to. It was just bullshit. It was just, my friend's like, hey, did you feed the dog yet? Because he didn't want to feed the dog too much. And I knew this, but my mind jumped into like, they're accusing me of not taking care of the dog properly. They must be pissed about something. So I had to rewrite the story. When I knew that it was a bullshit story, I just had to say, oh, they're just checking to see if they have to feed the dog or if they can wait until his normal feeding time. And then like 4 hours later, my friend's like, oh, cool, man, thanks. And that's because that's what it was. If I don't hear from my friend for days, I don't be like, oh, I guess we're not friends anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we text each other all the time and we're always in contact, but if I go like 3 days and I don't get a text from him, I'm not going to sit there and be like, I guess we're not friends anymore. I had some bullshit in my head when I moved out of their house because there was a little bit of tension between everybody when you have a house guest for 4 months. I mean, my homie's brother came and stayed with him for months at a time. And they'll have like, they don't fight, they don't have like beef, but there's tension and there's like, his brother will be like, okay, I'm going to go see. He's retired now. So he just kind of travels around and does what he wants. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go hang out with mom for a couple of weeks and then I'll go back home or whatever. But like, he knows he's not wearing out a welcome. He's welcome. But when you're a house guest for like 3 fucking months at someone's house, there's going to be some, tension in the room. And when I moved out of my friend's house, I had these stories in my head about, are we still friends anymore? Like that kind of shit. And they did too. His wife did. She told me. She told him to tell me. And like they had all these different, all 3 of us had stories in our head about what the other people were thinking. And they were all bullshit and not true. And as soon as we started talking about it, we drank a couple of beers and laughed about it, and we're all cool now, because it was all bullshit. Like she thought I was mad at her and I thought she was mad at me and blah, blah, this and that. And no, like she actually was like, make sure he knows I'm not, and, we were all under stress and, this and that. And that's all it was. And we're all fine. We're all friends. And, because there was a little bit of tension from having a house guest for 4 months and you just want your house, just like I had a dog here the dog was here from Wednesday night to Monday morning. And there was a little bit of tension from having the dog here, especially because I was already stressed the fuck out about 20 other things. But honestly, having the dog here was it was kind of like stress relief too. Having a little buddy by my side the whole time was actually kind of like it was a combination of stress and stress relief at the same time, because having a dog, it's kind of a nice, having a little friend by your side is cool. And but when it was like I had no beef about the whatever the dog did that was stressful, but once it was over, it felt good. But it wasn't like I'd do it again. If they asked me to watch him next week, I'd do it. So I wouldn't care. So that was how my energy was being robbed, to the point where I was so fucking exhausted the last 2 days that I just had no energy to do anything. And so finally I just kind of listened to my body and I said, you know what? I need this break. This is like my first opportunity to take 2 days of my life and just be down for the count. Like I said, it started that day when the check engine light came on, and all of that resulting stress over 2 whole months finally just culminated in finally coming home relatively without any problems, because all the problems that were bothering me had finally all been worked out, and I have no more problems for a day or two. And my body was just like, we're done. We're going to sleep. That's it. I crashed the fuck out. I think tomorrow I'm going to feel normal again, energy-wise, but yesterday and today I did not. And I mean, if you ever in your life, if you're one of the 9-to-5ers, if you're one of those people that work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then you get the weekend off, that kind of lifestyle. Have you ever come home from work on Friday afternoon and just crash the fuck out until Monday morning when you got to go back to work? Like there were days, it wasn't often, but every now and then, whatever reason, stress, life, work, a bad week at work, whatever the case may be, I had an opportunity My kids were with their parents and I'm by myself. I'm alone Friday night. I get home. I have all these plans about what I'm going to do this weekend. I get home and I crash the fuck out. I go straight to bed. And the only thing I do from Friday evening all the way until Monday morning when I got to go back to work is lay in bed, sleep, get up, go eat the most ridiculously easy food I can find, a pizza, a microwave, this or that, anything that doesn't involve any work, take a nap, watch TV, take another nap, watch TV, eat some more easy to make food, take a nap, watch some TV, go to bed, wake up, take a nap, watch some TV, eat an easy meal, order a pizza, go to bed, take a nap, watch TV, take a nap, watch TV, take a nap, go to bed, wake up, go to work. Have you ever had one of those weekends where you just like you didn't expect it, you didn't see it coming, you just you may have been going through a stressful week, a stressful couple of months, whatever. You find yourself in a place where you can, even though you don't want to. And your body's just like, you know what, motherfucker, you're going to bed. Boom. And you really can't even control it. You just fall asleep. And that's it. And you wake up on Saturday and you've got no energy at all. You don't mow the yard. You don't do the dishes. You don't fucking fold. You don't do laundry. You do nothing. You watch TV. You eat. You sleep. You take a nap. Watch some TV. Take a nap. Watch TV. Order a pizza. Take a nap. Go to bed. Wake up Sunday. Do it again. Go to work on Monday. What did you do all weekend? Not a fucking thing. That was yesterday and today for me. And I haven't had a don't do anything day. I mean, the 4th of July was kind of like that. But I still had to leave the house and go to my friend's house and eat some delicious brisket that had been slow cooked and smoked for 15 hours. But then I had to go to the fireworks with them and walk. We ended up having to walk like 2 miles or a mile. I don't know, probably a mile each way from where we had to park. I think it was a mile each way. But I had to wear Crocs because I was wearing Crocs. I wasn't wearing real shoes, and that hurt my feet. And then we had to go to the grocery store and come back. And I didn't get home until like 11, 12 o'clock at night. So it wasn't like a do nothing day. And it just kind of like, I don't know, all the stress built up. And finally I crashed the fuck out the last 2 days, like one of those weekends that you could just write off from your life if you're a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday guy. And it wouldn't happen often, but every now and then, even before the whole turmoil came into my life, every now and then I would have one of those weekends where I would have all these plans about what I'm going to do this weekend. And I get home from work Friday night and boom, I'm out. I'm done. I'm knocked the fuck out until Monday morning. Barely able to get out of bed for 2 whole days. But then I feel fine. Like I needed to recharge my batteries. My body needed to recover from whatever stress, lack of sleep, like whatever it was that I just, it's like a cell phone where the battery's almost dead. Eventually it's just going to die. And until you plug it in and recharge the battery, you're not going to be able to use the phone. It's not going to work. And your body will do the same thing. You charge it a little bit, but like, let's say you go 2 weeks on your cell phone and you never get it above 20% because you're always unplugging the charger and you're always using it and you're always having this and that and the other thing. And every time you plug it in, you charge it for a bit and then you unplug it and use it again. It never gets charged to 100% for 2 straight weeks. It's constantly on the edge of burning out. And then you have it just a little bit too long and poof, it goes dead because you burned out the battery. Now you got to plug that thing in or it's not going to work. And it would be better if you just let it charge up to 100%, then you could go all day without having to plug it in. That your body does that. Your body will just eventually, your body will be like, look, I can't just run on 10 to 15% battery for the next 3 fucking weeks. You gotta fucking get charged to 100%. At some point, you gotta recharge. Or I'm just gonna, your body will just say, you know what? Fuck you, I'm done. And I don't care what you wanna do. I'm doing this. You don't like it? Fuck you. And that's what it did yesterday and today. I couldn't stop it. The stress of this situation that I'm in since 2022 is unbearable at times. And it burns through my fucking battery so fast sometimes that I hold on and I hold on and I hold on and I limp to the finish line, and then boom, I'm done. 2 days off. I can't, like, I know I'm going to wake up feeling fine tomorrow. Because I already felt better today than yesterday, but I know I'm 50 years old. It's not like I haven't been through this before. But like Dr. Bruce Lipton says, the stress and fear that, the stress that comes from the fear will kill you. Stress, anger, fear, all that negative emotion. If you live in that shit all day long, every day, you're not going to live very long because it will kill you. It will manifest disease and cancer and heart attack. It'll materialize itself in sickness and death. And my experience over the last 2 months of living in stress nonstop has resulted in, like, even I talked about going to the Dave Matthews concert, and that was in May, and that was after the check engine light started. And yes, I enjoyed going to that concert, but I was still stressed the fuck out the whole day, the day before, the day of. At the concert, I had this fucking thing hanging over me, like another made up bullshit story about my friend drove his vehicle to the venue, and we parked in a questionable spot, and he wasn't too worried about it. He's got enough money to deal with it and a wife to come and pick us up, so one way or another we would have been okay. But I was worried about whether his vehicle would be there when we got done with the show, or if it would have been towed away. And, like, what the fuck does it matter? It's not my vehicle. It is my problem to a degree, but he was the one who made the decision to be fine with leaving it there. He's like, fuck it, whatever happens, happens. So this exhaustion that I'm feeling the last 2 days is physical. It's pain. Like, my body aches. I have an achy fucking body right now. Muscle pain, just physical pain. And there's no physical activity to cause it. It's all stress and mind. It's your mind. My mind has been so stressed out and negative over the last 2 months that it basically just turned itself into a toxic physical sensation in my body that forced me to fucking lay in bed for 2 days doing fucking nothing. And it was only because the situations that were causing the stress worked themselves out, as they do. And finally, I was allowed to my body finally let me release. My mind finally released some of that stress. And my body in turn was like, all right, finally, fuck, now now we got to recover. Because it's like you just beat the shit out of yourself riding a bicycle 100 miles a day for 2 fucking weeks straight. You need to rest. You just, all that stress you were giving yourself for 2 months, it did the same thing. And so I think that's a good place to end tonight. Just be aware of when you are when you're stressed out about something or whatever, and you start to just, I'm not telling you to fight back when you start expecting the worst in a situation or whatever, because that's something that's hardwired into your system, and it's hard to break. It's hard to turn that off. The only way that you can kind of combat against that and start to fix that is to actually recognize it for what it is when it happens, instead of believing that the bullshit story that you're making up as a reflex where you don't, it just happens automatically. I'm not good enough. I'm poor. I'm going to be, my car's broke down. I'm going to be late. I'm going to be homeless because I can't pay my rent, blah, blah, blah. All these stories that you make up. No, my landlord wasn't even that mad. I told him at the beginning of the month what was going on. He was like, "All right, just let me know." And then I said I'd pay it by this date, and I couldn't. It was like 2 extra days. And he goes, "Oh, okay, thanks for letting me know." And then when I paid it, he was like, "Thanks," and that was all it was. like, like I don't want to make a habit of that, but he wasn't mad about it either. He's like, it's easier for him to be a week late on rent than it is for me to go out and find a new fucking tenant. When you get a new tenant, you don't know what you're fucking getting. Like, this guy's quiet. He keeps the place nice. He keeps it clean. He doesn't give me any problems. He doesn't, trash the place. I can end up getting a new tenant that fucking destroys the place and causes me all kinds of problem and never pays his fucking bills, and I have to go through an eviction, blah, blah, blah. Like, being a landlord's it's a roll of the dice when you bring somebody in. So I have leverage that I need to recognize that I do have in these situations, but it's, you don't want to, I still don't want to make a habit out of that shit. I want to be the good tenant that doesn't, that makes my life easier. So, but making up this whole fucking bullshit story about a check engine light turns into being homeless, turns into going back to prison because you can't get a fucking job and blah, 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 blah. That's like, okay, dude, you gotta like that. If you believe that all that shit's true, the bullshit stories that you make up, what's true is I got a check engine light. It's going to cost me a bunch of fucking money and it sucks. And this fucking car is a piece of shit. That's true. But the rest of it's just a bunch of bullshit that you made up. And God, I really don't feel like God brought me down here to throw me face down in the dirt and stomp on my head and just, toss me to the fucking curb and laugh about it, So I just keep, things do tend to work out. And so separate the bullshit from fact. What's the fact and what's the bullshit I'm making up? And then, from there, make up a new fucking story that's better. Because if you're going to tell yourself some fucking bullshit to make yourself feel like shit, why not tell yourself some bullshit to make yourself feel better? You know what I mean? Like, the car has a check engine light and it broke down and it's a piece of shit and it's falling apart all the time because, well, I'm supposed to go buy a new car. So I'm going to go get a new car because of it. A car that I actually want or whatever. I don't know how I'm going to afford it or whatever. That's not important. The point is, instead of making up a bullshit story about how you're going to be homeless, make up a bullshit story about how you're going to have a nice car next month because this piece of shit's finally showing you its true colors. Chances are I'm probably still going to be driving the same piece of shit in the next couple of months, but I'm looking into other options and seeing what can be done, and nothing's forever. So with that, I'm just going to say, JS says, I hate when I text and the recipient ends it by ignoring my last comment by not responding. That happens to me all the time. Either me being the one who didn't respond or the one that didn't get a response. And sometimes let's say it happens at night, You know how many times I've fallen asleep having a conversation with someone where I'm just like, and the fucking phone's laying in the bed next to me and my hands are almost still like this and it fell out of my hands because I fell asleep in the middle of a text or whatever, and it's just I fell asleep. And there's been times where I didn't get a response from somebody, and the next day I get a, oh my God, I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you. I fell asleep. Like it happens. Or just, shit happens. So don't make up a bullshit story because, I mean, sometimes it's true. Sometimes I have a spidey sense that if I'm, especially if I just met a chick and we were hitting it off and then all of a sudden, poof, she's gone. Like I have a good a spidey sense. I can tell if I'm getting ghosted or not. But I've ghosted chicks too. So, I've been the ghoster, I've been the ghost, I've been ghosted, I've been the ghost. I've seen it from both sides, and you can generally tell, but base it on facts. Don't just make up a bullshit story. When you make up that bullshit story and then you act out because of that bullshit story, like a simp, a fucking simp. A girl doesn't text a guy back 3 hours after he sends her a text. If you're gonna simp out and be like, "What's wrong?" Boom, you're fucking that shit up. There may have been nothing fucking wrong other than I'm working, motherfucker. But now there's something wrong because now you're an insecure fucking guy who has no confidence, and now you think I'm mad at you because it took me 3 hours to text you back, and now we're gonna have a problem. Is this how you're gonna be? You know what I mean? So, just if she's gonna ghost you, just fucking ghost a bitch back like that. Just if she doesn't respond to you in 3 hours, be like, fuck you, bitch. I'm not going to say anything to you until you text me. So how about that? And then if 5 weeks later she hasn't texted you, well, then you got ghosted. Otherwise, if she really is into you, she's probably going to text you back tomorrow or whatever, like in the early stage of a relationship. I'm not talking about, someone you've been dating for 2 fucking years and you're about to get married. That might be a little, you'll recognize patterns but in the early stages, like if you're going to simp out because she disappeared for a few hours, you're going to send her 4 text messages to her 1. That shit ain't going to fly. So, or vice versa. She sends you 6 text messages every time you send her 1. And I'm reading a fucking book every time I open my phone. It's like, all right, now we gotta balance. We gotta have a balance here. So anyhow, thanks for stopping out. It's almost 4 hours. Fuck it. I'm thinking about maybe cutting back the live stream and doing regular videos at some point. I don't know. I went through a bunch of hassle tonight. My Mac crashed half an hour before the stream. I had everything all set up, and then everything froze, and I had to reboot the Mac because there's so much shit going on. It's hard to set this up. Everybody who does live streams tells you this. It's kind of a pain. It's fun, but I like the interaction and the back and forth with it. But I don't know. I'm going to keep doing what I got. I got to keep doing whatever I can do, but I got, shadow bans and bullshit from YouTube to deal with. And, it is what it is. I'll just keep doing whatever's in my energy and power to do. But thanks for stopping by, everybody. It's been real. It's been cool. And, same time next week, same place. If I'm going to change anything up, I won't just, do it without warning. So, if you don't see me next week and you're here, something went wrong, but it doesn't necessarily mean I went to prison. I do have technical difficulties sometimes. So with that said, don't expect the worst, but If I go 2 weeks and you don't see me online, then start doing some Google searches or make a few calls, because that would be an indicator that something went wrong. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. It's been fun. I'll see y'all next week, and peace out.